Thanks for joining me. We'll be getting started in just a minute. Hi, everybody. I hope you guys are having a lovely day. I'm gonna give it a couple minutes for people to trickle in. I've got my coffee and I'm ready to get started on some projects, but mostly today we'll just kind of be kicking it and chatting and finishing up some of my miscellaneous to-do list that may or may not be worth a whole stream on their own, but put together it's enough little projects that keeps my hands busy while I spend some time with you guys. So, thanks for joining me. And we'll be getting started here in just a few. So you have time to get yourself a drink, get yourself a snack, make sure you stay hydrated and have some fun. So I've got my my usual poison. I say that lovingly. I love my coffee. Yeah, so like I said, I'm going to be doing just kind of some craft housekeeping today. I'm going to be quilting a little bit, sewing a little bit. I might work on some binding, just a couple little things that I need to finish up. So today's kind of a miscellaneous day, so perfect day to chat with everybody. I'm going to fix this strap before it drives me absolutely crazy. My suspenders. All right. Hey, it's good to see some familiar faces. Welcome back, everybody. So one of the things I want to talk about today, just a little kind of channel housekeeping, is I am going through a rebrand right now. If you've been with me for a little while, you may recognize me as Art Schooly. I'm not going to get into all of it, but for reasons kind of forced on me, I am choosing to take the moral high ground and rebrand. So I will be going as Catherine Everything from now on. Art School, the bus is not going anywhere. Art is not going anywhere. Nothing's really going to change. Just like I said, some kind of housekeeping branding, and I will be Catherine Everything. So I decided it'd be cute to kind of lean into the rebrand. So now you guys are my everythings. So welcome, my everythings. And I really hope you guys, enjoy being here. I hope to cultivate and continue to cultivate a very safe space. So it is family. We are keeping it family friendly, but that doesn't mean that, we can't talk about just about whatever we want. We're just going to watch our swearing and provide content warnings if we're going to get into anything that maybe a little up there, but I just really want you guys to have a safe, cozy space. Like I said, the bus's doors are always open and you guys are always welcome on board the bus. That will never change. So thank you for kind of sticking through some growing pains while we rebrand to Catherine Everything. So with that kind of housekeeping aside, like I said, it's exciting to see some familiar faces. I'm just going to jump into it. Today is a kind of kicking things off the to-do list kind of day. I've got a pillow that needs quilting. I've got a quilt that needs binding, and then I still have the rainbow stocking that we were working on yesterday if I get there. So that's what's down here. And then if you guys were with me a little while ago when we did the baby quilt, that still needs to be bound. And then what I have on the machine in front of me today is a pillow, a patchwork pillow that my mom pieced that is for my grandma for Christmas. And so I'm going to be quilting it today. I have the pleasure of quilting it. So I'm just getting set up here so that I can do that. I'm debating how I want to quilt it. And I've got the front and the back to do. So it's kind of like a miniature quilt in the way that it is the 3 layers, and we're going to quilt it, and then she'll trim it up sew the 2 together, and it'll be a sweet little pillow. But I like it because it's got this little cat in a basket. It's quite lovely. All right. I'm just going to start. Sometimes it's kind of intimidating and a little scary to just be going for that first stitch, and then after a while it's like, meh, we're already in it. If we're going to mess it up, we would have done so by now. So here's to just launching into it. I will try to keep my mic a good distance from the machine here. There's a fine borderline between ASMR and annoying, so I'll try and stay on the plus side. As usual, I am using my Elna. This is an Elna Excellence 680. If you guys have any questions about equipment, why I use what I use, how I use what I use, what I'm doing, I'm always happy to stop and chat about any questions that you guys may have. Let's bring this back towards me. There we go. So I'm starting with just a very simple quilt in the ditch around the outside of this patchwork. I figure that gives me a decent just place to start. I can always go over and make it fancier, but this way I've got kind of a good foundation, if it were. So just like with the baby quilt, if you were there while I quilted that, we have basted this one with pins. That is both of our preferred methods to hold all 3 of those layers together. Of course, you can use thread basting, you can use adhesive basting. We are just team safety pin here. So I am just kind of adjusting as needed as I go along. I'm not sure if you can quite tell what the little pattern is in this, so while I'm stopped here for a second, I'm going to hold it up. It's a little mice, which is really cute. I have a love-hate relationship, honestly, with fabric. Being an artist and a graphic designer, I think all it does is make me question every line, every color decision, everything. And it's definitely not an elitist thing. It's literally just a, like, I think of all the jobs I've, say, like, been commissioned to do, and it's like, I wonder if the artist chose that, or if management chose that, or why did they print that, and so a lot of times I get really picky when it comes to pattern fabrics, just because of years of, being forced to look at things. And so it's hard for me to use prints. I tend to prefer solids or like medium density prints just because of that. But then I'll see something like this that my mom made out of just cute fabric, and I'm like, why am I like this? So I don't know. And again, I'm just removing the safety pins when I'm done with them so they're not in my way. Because then the stitching holds it all together, so it's all good. It's all come together. So with the rebrand, because I'm just going to chat about that, because that's obviously what's weighing on my mind, in a good way. But you know, like I've said before, any stress is, or even good stress is still stress. Any good work is still, it's still work. Anything weighing on your mind, even if it's good, is still a weight. And so sometimes it's just better to talk about these things. But I am mostly excited, so I'm just kind of vibrating with that excited energy. So with the rebrand, it's really just kind of, I don't want to say forced my hand, but it's more of a like, well, I had been meaning to make, to finalize a Patreon for a while, and I'd been meaning to finalize a Twitter for a while, and, obviously I hadn't, but now that I've got the new name, go out there and just make sure all my kind of, again, housekeeping is kind of the theme of the day, on all my socials and kind of checking off some stuff on the list. So I do have a Patreon. Right now, there's just kind of a support only. It's called the Bus Pass. Right now, it just gives you a special role on my Discord, but I want to add more to that, give patrons a, like behind the scenes or something just a little bit more fun. I am trying to find that balance between, not overworking myself, but then also providing enough content to be worth it. I do appreciate you guys spending any amount of time with me. I want to make sure it's worth your while to do so. But also, yes, I do have a Discord. I'll be posting I'll post the link in chat. I'll also post it just to all my socials. I'd love to see you guys on my Discord, subreddit, all that kind of fun stuff. So really trying to make sure I can connect with you guys. I lost my scissor. Big, giant surprise. There we go. On any platform that, you guys prefer and I like to use, and just, I like to connect. And there's a fly. It got hot again. I know by now you guys probably are like, wow, she's mentioning the weather again. Big surprise. I live in the desert. It gets very hot all the time, and it shouldn't be a shocker, but it is. But it got hot again, even though it's fall, and we live on a ranch, and all of our neighbors are ranchers, and so there's a lot of horses, a lot of goats, and such, which is fantastic. I love animals, but it also means there's a lot of flies all the time, so oh well, the perils of living that prairie core life. So I've decided I want to highlight all this beautiful patchwork, and I'm just going to do just a kind of design around it. This is this quilt pattern is called Flower Basket. This one has a cat in it, but the block itself is still called Flower Basket. So I'm going to kind of outline the basket so that it really, really pops. I'm also going to go around the cat, because the cat is cute, and it deserves some highlighting here. Quilting is a really interesting opportunity to pick up on all the patchwork or design or whatever you have it here in the quilt. One of my favorite styles, actually, of quilts is, and this goes back to my theory of you really like what you can't do. Which is just, that brain's appreciation of, wow, I can't do that, and it's masterwork. And I am not a very good quilter. That is something I am working on. I mean, right here, I am quilting by all technicality. I am a quilter, but it's something I want to get better at. It's not something that I would say, oh yes, that is my skill. I am technically proficient. And so when I see quilters do amazing quilting, it blows my mind. And one of my favorite styles of quilting is actually whole cloth, where the quilt is one piece of fabric. There's no patchwork. It's just a whole cloth. And then what makes it beautiful is that it's the quilting. And so you'll see these beautiful, very, very ornate, very detailed, where it's almost embroidered over the top. There's, all of these things in sewing and fiber are very Venn diagrammy, where they overlap each other a lot. But the whole thing is about the quilting, and that's something that I don't think I'll ever really get to, unless it was by hand. I don't see myself gaining that technical proficiency, and that's okay. I'm trying to learn that it's okay to be mediumly okay at everything. I don't have to be a master, but I can still appreciate it, But what I'm trying to do with my own quilting is just, highlight either what's in the fabric or in the patchwork, or in this case the applique, and just, have it be harmonious. I don't want my quilting to be jarring, so I will settle for not jarring right now. But again, like I said, I'm practicing. This is something that's new to me. And you got to start somewhere, I think especially after you've kind of established yourself as like an artist or as someone who, does creative things. I think people kind of expect everything to be of a certain level, and it's like, nah, every medium is, you're coming into it, sure, with more expertise, but you're not coming in with you're not level 5 at everything just because you're a level 5 painter, if that makes any sense. So with quilting, it's something that still sometimes I get like, oh, I should be better, but I've only quilted 4 things. I don't have to be immediately good. I'm still very, very much level 1. I can explain a lot, technically, but that doesn't that doesn't immediately come with, a physical representation of how skilled your brain thinks you are. And I think that's something that gets people frustrated, is that they know more about their subject. They've just got to train their body and mind to work together. So, good in theory, not in practice is where I am with a lot of things. So here's to breaking outside the brain cage and putting it into practice. So I'm just going to go around this cat nice and slow. I'm trying to, like I said, to highlight and show off the cat and not, have my quilting be distractingly bad or distracting from, from the work here. So going around the cat. And I can, that's the thing though, is I can always pick it out if it's not as good as I want. And try again. Really, I'm not working with any material where it'll explode if I don't do a good job, so that's kind of comforting in that respect too. And really, this is a present from my grandma. She has to love it, right? I mean, I'm gonna try my absolute best, and I just, I'm more upset about if I did a bad job that I would ruin the patchwork. But big picture, I'm putting my heart into it. That's all that really, really matters here. So. Doing my best. So I've got my hand back here, if you can see on the overhead, my fingies. I've got a lever here that allows me to lift up and down my presser foot. And so when I'm making turns, it allows me to kind of pivot a little bit better. Okay. I might take part of this out over here. I don't like what I did on the tail. So when you're picking anything out, the most important thing is to just make sure you leave yourself enough to tie a knot from where you took it out. There's a burr on my scissor. Maybe taking up scissor sharpening faster than I had planned to. If you guys were on my stream yesterday, I was talking about hobbies I can justify and hobbies I can't because I already do too much. But knife and scissor sharpening was on my justifiable list because I have a lot of blades that need sharpening, and this one happens to have a little burr on the end, so maybe forcing my hand sooner rather than later. So thank you, universe, for constantly kind of lighting a fire under my behind there to get things done. So remember, if you ever make a mistake, just pull it to the back and tie a knot and continue on. Which is all I'm doing, because I went 2 stitches too far. But again, you know, once I tie it off in the back, no one will ever know, because it's just thread. And it's looking pretty cute. All I'm doing is pulling those threads to the back, tie a little knot, and snip it off. There we go. Ta-da! Alright, so I've done the easy part, and by the easy part I mean I've gone around the cap, gone around the basket. It still needs a little bit of quilting. And you can see it from the back here. Oh, my machine decided to leave some knots today. Oops, we'll just snip those away. I might switch to the back, but you can see that it's getting quilted. The back I have a little bit more freedom with because, like, obviously there's nothing to trace or to highlight, so I might practice some swirls or just kind of see what happens. That might be a good excuse to get the chalk out. I can remember where my chalk pen went. I have a little chalk wheel. Let me see if I have the chalk wheel. I will be right back. Oh well, chalk wheel went walkabout, so that is what it is. Oh well, I took off those silly suspenders too. I love them. They are super cute, but apparently today they decided to just overload me sensorily, so they are gone, which is a bummer, but that's okay. I'm making sure we're comfortable and listening to our brains and bodies, so. There, have my coffee. We can get back to it. Just gonna check the chat real quick. It's good to see, like I said, good to see some familiar faces and some new faces. So thank you guys for being here. I am working on the back of the quilt now. I mean, well, yes, back of the pillow, which will also be quilted. Those are all words. So I think I'm just going to practice kind of frolicking. There's probably a better word for what I'm doing, but this is what I've got now. So I'm just going to take the machine and kind of just freehand. And really what I'm looking for, why did that get caught, is nice, easy swirls. I don't want any, like, sticky corners or anything. I'm just... looking to me. See, this is still something that's too scary for me to do on, like, the front of the quilt, but, or, like, I keep saying the front, like, this is the back of a pillow, so, it's just whole cloth, and I'm just letting the quilting happen. If I was over patchwork right now, I'd be far too scared to do what I'm doing, and that's just an experience thing. I know that the hang-up, but, you know, is what it is. Sometimes it's good to have a piece of practice where, like, I can just let loose. Like, that's all this is. It's the back of a pillow. It doesn't have to be perfect, and so kind of with permission to play, I can practice something that's new to me without any, like, fear of messing it up, even though, like, it's fine. So we've got a question in chat. Am I using a walking foot? I am not at the moment. My machine does not have one built in, which drives me absolutely crazy. Some machines do, most machines don't. What's nice, though, when I'm doing this freeform quilting is the walking foot isn't there to get in the way. But it can, like Quilting Koala, who is my mom, if you guys don't know, says it does help hold the sandwich together while quilting. What I'm doing to hold my sandwich together instead is using these guys. So you'll see that I'm kind of putting down a little bit of pressure, and also kind of holding the whole quilt kind of like this. That's so that I can make sure that those 3 layers stay together. So a little bit of maneuvering. Gotta stop and get all these pins and then try to be a responsible adult and put the pins back in the pin thing. Try. One more. So every time I'm stopping, it's because there's a pin. Okay. So I've run off the edge. Ooh, but you can see it. Like the inside of this pillow is white. I'm using a light gray thread, but you can see, maybe actually this way is better. You can see the swirls. So this was really fun to freehand. So, you know, come in, woo. And so I'm going to keep doing that through the whole pillow. Of course, on this side, the thread isn't as contrasty because we've got all these cute little mice. But this will be the side that shows. So it's all good. You can feel it though. And that's like I talk a lot about how quilting is, to me, is very, very tactile. So when I am quilting, I'm looking for shapes and feelings and just kind of that pretty bumpiness that quilting gives me. So let me big brain through this. Yeah. Oops, kind of half ran over a pin. Not enough to hurt the needle or anything, just enough to get it stuck. Running right over the pins. All right, there we go. Came off the edge again, which is totally fine. You can start to see the swirls. It's getting that nice quilted texture to it, and it's all starting to come together. So I started with like a meandering swirl on the main, like on 1/3 of it. I'll probably do another, and then I'll come in and do what's called echo quilting, where you have like a line and then you just kind of echo that design. So it really looks like it was big picture part of the whole thing, but I'm not like, it won't be a bunch of like continuous lines. It'll be more of just these lines on and off the fabric, kind of in the same pattern. Actually, echo quilting is a really good way, I think, to start, especially if you are doing it over patchwork, is to pick something in the quilt and focus it, and then just kind of go an inch away and make that same design, because it really brings your eye's attention to whatever design you're highlighting. So I am a fan. So you can really see how that's coming together there. Just nice and organic ripples. Again, this is good practice for me to learn how to do something that I'm not as comfortable with. I mean, that is growth, is pushing yourself outside of that comfort zone, but it's still hard, you know, and I know I'm making mistakes that I will just have to correct with time. Gotta put those hours in. Yeah, when I was studying animation, that's actually what I went to college for. Our professors taught us the kind of 10,000 rule, where you have about 10,000 bad drawings in you, and you gotta get them out. So, like, you know, the idea is the more you practice, the more you draw, the sooner you get those 10,000 bad drawings out, the sooner you get to your good drawings. And that's not to say that you can't be proud of the stuff during that time. But, you know, as a general rule, it's really just kind of that, you know, you got to put in the time to get to the good stuff. And I find that that's really true of any medium or discipline. So, you know, if I've got to put in 10,000 inches of bad stitching, or, you know, I gotta get them out before the good stuff really starts. So, you know. I'm going to put in another big ol' swirl here. And my way back up. It's kind of fun. Yeah, once it stops being terrifying. I also gotta keep an eye on my bobbin thread. Well, I mean, that's kind of pretty. It's not half bad. Like, not half bad. And there are all sorts of ways that you can plan out and quilt a quilt. You can quilt on an embroidery machine if you have access to that. You can quilt in straight lines, in grids, in patterns. There's really no right or wrong answer here. Nope, and I'm out of bobbin thread. I just looked at that. Just looked at that. Oh, it broke. But we're kind of running out anyway, so I might just wind a new bobbin. Sorry guys, I know that's a noise. Alright, cool. I hope you enjoyed that absolutely horrendous noise. My apologies for that. I was making a bobbin. And a bobbin is the thread that goes on the bottom of your machine. Sewing machines sew with 2 threads at a time, in case you did not know that. And the machine makes the threads do this. Kind of like 2 dolphins swimming with each other. And that's what kind of locks everything together. So now you know. Actually, it's really cool. If you've there's a really nice GIF out there that shows how a sewing machine works. Kind of a nice illustrated demonstration. If you have not seen it, I would highly recommend you check it out. It's really cool. If I remember after my stream, I will find it and tweet it. Yeah, it's. I mean, if I don't remember, just imagine 2 dolphins swimming like. Alright, so where I stopped, I've got to tie a little knot which, you know, shouldn't be this difficult, but sometimes it is. Yeah, there we go. Where was I? Let's see. We were right here. So I'm going to tie a knot and just keep on. Yes. I always love it when my equipment makes a terrifying noise. That's fun. Problem? Really, when in doubt, if your sewing machine's making a funny noise, just rethread. Even though I just rethreaded it, obviously something wasn't going right, so I'm gonna try that again before we break something. So, and I really wish life was just as easy to reset as that, but you know, I'm gonna take the little things that I know that I can control and just rethread. So tighten everything up and rethread. Think. That sounds better. That's one of my favorite noises. I don't know why it's so satisfying. It just really is. All right, so I'm actually coming to the end of... Hello, magnets. Magnets. How do they work? Coming to the end of this. So I'm just kind of looking at it from both sides. Even though one side will be won't ever be seen because it'll be inside a pillow, it's still nice to just see it from different angles and, you know, make sure it's fairly evenly quilted. And again, this is the back of a pillow, but, well, you know, still practicing and putting in good work. Kind of a good way to warm up, too. Although, by the time I'm all warmed up, I'll probably be done and be switching to handwork, but that's usually how it goes. And just a good reminder that, you know, if you ever do something on this that you don't like, you can always pick it out. I'm not sure I loved that last meander, but I'm going to keep going. And then if I decide to switch it up, just a little bit more. This isn't a huge project, and so it's gone pretty quickly. Probably 2 or 3 more lines, and then it's ready to call. there we go. You can see just kind of a meandering, swirling, like, you know, may not enter that in the quilt show, but for some practice and for something that I'm, you know, genuinely, honestly trying on, it's not half bad. You gotta try to grow. Got to try to think. Wow. You gotta do words. Words are hard, guys. You gotta try or you'll never grow. And that's kind of where I am with a lot of things, is I just, you know, want to get better, so I have to be uncomfortable. You know, like not to where I'm stressed, but just to where I know that growth only happens when you are slightly outside your comfort zone. So here's to going outside your comfort zone, even if it's something, you know, not like little, like there's no dismissing any sort of growth. It's more just, you know, I've been a sewist for many years, but have never really been a true quilter, and so now I am quilting my work. That's the definition. I make quilts. I had not really put in a lot of time in being a quilter, more of a patchworker or making quilt tops. So this is just kind of expanding within my field. I've talked a lot about kind of that mountain of, you know, you think you know everything, and then you get to the top of the mountain and realize how little you know and how much farther you have, and can either be like the breaking point for a hobby or a career or whatever, or it can be the kind of the starting point of, all right, well, now I know what I don't know, so let's keep getting to it. I'm not going to learn any more by standing here. I just got to keep going. So I feel like that's kind of where I am professionally, is I've been doing stuff long enough to know what I still need to learn, and just have to keep putting in the hours and just keep having to, you know, trek that track. And that's the only way I'm gonna get any farther, so. So I'm sitting here thinking about sewing and all that kind of such like, and I just put up a new video on my YouTube channel. So if you don't already follow me there, links are on my Twitch profile, but also, you know, just, I am now Catherine Everything on my little corner of the internet here, or Catherine Stocking Lopez, which is my name. Will pretty much bring up all of my socials, but the video I just put up was a kind of costumey sewing video. I made some fur cowls, some fur hoods and cloaks, and it was good to kind of go back to my costume roots for a bit there. If you are new here or don't know my history, I did cosplay, like, you know, not to say like most crafters, but, you know, there's a lot of us geeks out there that did cosplay for a good number of years, and I haven't given it up. That's one of those hobbies I don't think I'll ever quite kick, especially now that I've got little Sprout to make costumes for. But, you know, I don't have the opportunity to make costumes quite as often as I did in the cosplay days, and so it was really nice to go back to that and just make something theatrical for the fun of making something theatrical. And so that video just went live, so it's up on my channel. But it did make me want to get more into clothes sewing, which is so different from quilting, it's not even funny. I mean, I get how it looks on the outside, like it's... thank you, Mod Team. There is the link to my my YouTube in the chat. Quilting and sewing, they are the same thing, except they're not. You know, it's kind of like saying all math is the same, and then watching a, you know, calculus person get offended that it's the same as something else. Yes, it's the same, but it's different. There's different ways of thinking involved. Like quilting, for example, is very precise. And yes, ultimately, like tailoring is very precise, but clothing, like you got a 5/8 inch seam allowance to mess around with. Quilting, you'll only have a 1/4 inch. And so it's one of those where my brain has to be ready to kind of switch between the two because they are so different. Which it shouldn't seem that different, but it really is. And so I think I need to remind my brain how to make clothing, because I was doing quite a bit of it there for a bit. I made Little Sprout some outfits, and that was really fun. And it kind of gave me that confidence again to want to make myself some clothing. And so I started with a cloak, which didn't have to be fitted too well. It's, mostly swooshy. But it did make me want to get back into clothing construction. So for January, after the holidays, after my big season's streamings, I want to get back into some clothing construction. So I hope you guys are just as excited about that as I am. But yes, I in chat, yes. Let's see. Dobbins. Yes, they are so different, completely different. OMG, no, they are so different. I loathe quilting and love making clothes, and my fiber arts professor made tons of quilts and hated making wearables. You are absolutely correct. It's 2D versus 3D sewing. That is, Erin. Thank you, Erin. That's exactly what it is. That is a very, very accurate description as it is. It's 2D versus 3D sewing, and any artist that knows 3D modeling versus 2D drawing, or even the jump from 3D sculpting to like on the computer to 3D sculpting in real life, the tools are different, but they're the same. Yes, you might be achieving something in the same medium, but it is so very, very different. So yes, thank you for that great comparison. Like when you're making clothing, yeah, you're sewing to fit the form. Like the quilt drapes itself and gets cozy along you, but it's not tailored like a garment is. And that's something that, like, I know for me has been like a struggle. Is I don't know about you guys, but clothing has always been kind of a sensitive thing for me, especially before I came out. I didn't know why I felt the way that I did in clothes, and I didn't like it. And like now, since identifying as genderqueer, it's a lot easier for me to be like, okay, this is something that, I can talk to others about, and this is something that it's not just why clothes fit make head feel bad. It is something that's tied up in my identity, and it took me a long time to figure out how I wanted to present and how I wanted to dress. And then when clothes didn't fit right, and then you enter gender dysphoria into that, it can be really disheartening. And so I've always wanted to make my own clothes, because I wanted to have them fit and have me present the way I wanted to. And now I finally have that confidence, but now I'm worried, because, I talk about that kind of skill mountain. I worry that I'm like not going to be able to do it right away. And I don't want to like trigger myself by making clothes that don't fit the way I need them to. And so I'm scared to make clothes. But I obviously can't help myself get past that if I don't ever do it. And so I'm going to have to kind of eventually bite that bullet and just try things. Definitely tried to make clothing for myself in the past, lots of cosplays, but, it's something different to make kind of everyday wear. Oops, throwing scissors on the floor. And try, and it's not only like putting yourself on the line where you're like, this is how I want to dress, this is me, but then also I made this. So yes, I need it to work out, and there's a lot in betting kind of on yourself that way, but I can only imagine the like power that would come from that. And so yes, obviously to wield that power, I need to put the practice in, or I'll never kind of gain that magic. So Erin asks, can I ask what your gender identity is? Are you looking for more NB or more gendered? I identify as genderqueer. I do use she, they pronouns, especially as a parent. I do find it's easier for people to use she with me. She or they works brilliantly. I like to wear clothes. I'm not afraid to present more masculine or more feminine on any given day. I love NB stuff, but I also, I don't know, it's one of those things where I think all of us realize that these labels evolve over time. More on the masculine side of stuff. I'm not trying to be true androgynous or true NB, because sometimes I just like to wear flowy skirts, and I love to wear suit jackets, and I love the layers. But then it's also hard because I live where it can get to be like 120 degrees Fahrenheit, and so all of the clothing that I like love, it's way too hot for. So yeah, just trying to find something like I would like to dress like a cowboy that went to art school. Is that an option? I think that's more my gender, is like anxious cowboy who took a class in graphic design. But yeah, it's complicated. And then coming out later in life too, it's like I didn't have all the like experimentation time when people's eyes weren't on you as much. And I kind of did that to myself too by being out here and being on the internet while I'm still trying to figure all that out is hard too. I see people that are a lot more kind of confident in their role before they come out, and it's just who they are, and I'm definitely questioning that. So I appreciate you guys being along here for the journey. Thank you, Erin. Cowboy who went to art school is absolutely a gender. Thank you. So yeah, thanks for kind of being part of that journey too. And then yeah, being a parent, I'm trying to trying to just be confident enough to then raise a tiny human who's confident enough to be who they need to be. So it's a lot. It is a lot. And that's kind of, I'm going to go back and forth. Lone Ranger, yes. On the rebrand, if you weren't here in the beginning, my hand was kind of forced into a rebrand. I was art schooly. I am taking the moral high road and rebranding, so I'm trying to lean into it. And so now the name I'm using is Catherine Everything. And yes, as somebody who identifies as pan and genderqueer and is a polymath with their project, with their process and their art, it's like, yes, everything. You can't make me choose anything. But it's more on that too that I'm still trying to figure it out. I've got everything to figure out. LMAO, I love all that. Thank you, Erin. Yeah, no, that's going to be the channel slogans. You can't make me choose anything. But it's also, I don't want to feel limited anymore. I also am a adult diagnosed with ADHD. So, I was talking in my last stream about just how many crutches I made and how many masks I wore as an adult. And now, I'm 30 and I have 25 to 28 years of just me making things up as it goes along to kind of fit a social situation. Also a military brat. So like, new kid at school every 6 months to 3 years. And, I finally the masks are all off and it's like, well, who do I want to be? Who do I want to be when I grow up? And oops, I kind of grew up, but who do I want to be now? So yeah, that's where the rebrand comes in. I want to be Catherine Everything. I am having fun. I feel free. I want to just, experience it all. And also, just like I said, gender is a social construct. You be who you want to be who you feel. Like being true to yourself is so insanely freeing. And yeah, my gender is yes. My gender is no. My gender is everything. And, that's who I love too. Like, yes, no, everything. And being able to kind of just take the mask off and kind of see everything in full color, it's overwhelming. And, then as an artist who's trying to create and trying to make and trying to figure out the scope of their artistic practice, just it's a lot. So, thanks for letting me go on that little rant there. But yeah, let me check the chat for a second. So yes, please recommend things. So Erin says, if I may, 2 recommendations for making wearables for yourself. Please share. Please, thank you. I love recommendations. I love, seeing how you guys kind of interact and come through the world and what has influenced, your choices and your style. Please, I would be completely honored to have recommendations there. Thank you. So I am going to switch things up. I think I am done with the machine quilting. So I'm going to turn off the machine and place that aside for the second and do some handwork. So let me mute my mic while I scoot this because it's loud. All right, cool. Now you only had to see how awkward that was. You didn't have to hear. You know, we're controlling what we can control. We are trying not to spill our coffee for the umpteenth time today. And, now I gotta choose between what I want to work on and what I should work on. Be responsible, have fun. Not that the irresponsible project isn't fun. You know, I'm gonna be responsible. A couple streams ago, we were working on this baby quilt, and we quilted it. So thank you guys for joining me for that. And now I've got the binding on. Let me see. I've got some great stuff in chat here real quick. All right, so I'm gonna read some chat here. Number one, let's see. There are amazing tricky clothing designs that are all flat circles and rectangles that may feel very good to you given your quilting, and these designs are also based on historical designs. I do love that. Fabric was expensive and you wanted to use all of it is absolutely correct, which may get you some good art student cowboy vibes. Excellent. Thank you. I'm excited. I'm very glad you picked up on the historical part too. I did mention the cowboy bit, but yeah, we like to live it up like it's 1889 around here. I have mentioned a little bit that we live on a small ranch. I've got the bus parked on a couple acres here. We've got goats and chickens, and one day I want to get ducks and name one of them Goose, and you know, have a little bit more of a farm. I love to garden, but I also love just the historical influence from that period. You know, just kind of stylistically, you know, kind of everything that happened in Red Dead Redemption 2 is where my brain loves to be. But, you know, there's also that kind of, you know, geeky, nerdy Ren Fair type thing going on in the old brain cage. And who doesn't want to just feel a little bit anachronistic in their everyday life? Because, yes, very grateful for modern times, very grateful for changing social attitudes and for modern medicine and all that. But sometimes it's just fun to dress like the cowboy or wizard or whomever you wish to be, because life is short, and you know, if I have to pay bills and taxes, I might as well you know, do it in my terms. So all right, so yes, please keep dropping amazing things in chat. You are absolutely just making my heart sing today. I'm going to just ramble for a second about what I'm doing, and then I will jump right back into the chat. If you are unfamiliar, a quilt differs from a blanket by having traditionally 3 layers: a backing, a batting, and the top. The top would be, again, traditionally where you'd have all your pretty patchwork. The batting would be something like wool or cotton, and then the back would be, again, traditionally whole cloth. Now you can break any and all of these rules, because what are rules but meant to be broken a bit. But what makes it a quilt is when you have those layers, then you sew through all 3 of them, anchoring them together. That is quilting. That stitching or tying or button threading through those 3 layers is what makes a quilt and not just a blanket. And so once a quilt is quilted, you have kind of the sandwich where you've got your bread and your filling, and you have this very raw edge. And then you take it and you put another piece of cloth in a strip and you bind it. And so, like, blankets can be bound. That's one of those where the Venn diagram overlaps. Quilts are pretty much always bound to encase those 3 layers. So what I'm doing right now is putting the binding on the baby quilt that we were quilting the other day. So this is the dinosaur fish quilt for a good family friend of ours who just had a small human, and I'm very excited for them. So I'm gonna get this finished up because winter is coming and they're in Canada. So we're gonna make sure that small wonderful human has a little bit of extra warmth this winter. So that's what I'm working on right now, is the binding. So again, if you have any questions about if you have any questions about, what makes a quilt, or how binding's put on, or, there are no silly questions, and I love to teach. So while I've got my attention diverted, I am also going to read from the chat because I am getting some fantastic recommendations. The second is, there's a lot of clothing in the world, and sometimes it just needs to be deconstructed and reimagined. Look for the 3D shapes you need for your projects while you are thrifting, and commit to the more 2D sewing in your modifications of the thrifting piece. I love that idea, actually. And that, it's one of those where it may not seem obvious at first to like take something that you like to wear and then, deconstruct it and remake it. You don't even have to destroy the original piece. Thrifting can be an absolute, total good way to find things. And then that also kind of leans into the kind of artistic deconstruction of things, like not to get completely sidetracked, but welcome to the ADHD side of my channel, where there was this big movement in quilted coats, where people were either making a quilt or making pieces and then making a quilted jacket, but people were actually deconstructing quilts to then make into garments to give them new life. So there's so many different ways that you can take existing things and either learn from them or deconstruct them. So thank you, Erin. I love that. And it's true. You absolutely need to look for the shapes that you need and then deconstruct it. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. That's definitely something we try and do on this channel, is not reinvent the wheel every time. But sometimes you got to be reminded of that. And sometimes it's great to have these words come from someone, just putting it in a slightly different way and being like, yes, you're absolutely right. Like, my brain knew that, but absolutely rewording these things. And that's a brilliant way to look at it. I really appreciate your insight on that. So thank you very much. Yeah, when I start getting back into clothing in January, which is the channel plan, right now it's just to finish these projects, do my season's streamings for the holidays. So I have a bunch of Christmas and Yuletide projects. But then January, I would like to mark the beginning of the year by, just really focusing down and trying to make some clothing and really trying to be comfortable for the new year. New Year's, is it always a good time to just commit to good intentions and, cast off some of the stuff that we've dragged around for years prior. And so no time like a fresh start. Blah. Sorry, I've got knots in my thread. Not as dramatic as it probably sounded there. To try and live our truest selves, so with the best intentions. So that will be coming up in January. So we'll be extrapolating on that Cowboy Art School dealio. I will come up with a catchier way to say that, or I'll learn maybe. No promises to not trip over my words, but that might just be fundamentally who I am as a person. So if you were on my stream yesterday, I talked about the ladder stitch a lot while we were sewing the hexie stocking, which I have next to me. I am using that same stitch again today, especially when you're working with like high contrast seams like this. It's a good stitch because it doesn't really show if you're doing it halfway decently, and I can aim for halfway decently. I promise I know how to speak, but we are caffeinated and excited today, so the brain's gonna stumble on those words. So in chat, Erin says, I also feel like thrifting clothes to deconstruct removes some of the gendered emotions and body shape, size, context, because you are buying something with the intention of it being imperfect. So when there isn't a right, there's less temptation to assign a value to our bodies. By contrast, buying something new and not liking, and it not fitting or making something from that fabric. That is absolutely true. There's a lot of really, sorry, my brain needed to focus for a second. Thrifting can be a huge way to kind of remove some of the big feelings that we may have with clothing. I always find too that like my favorite items are always the ones I thrift, because it's already been worn by somebody and I don't have to like worry about like getting my money's worth, or like I already know it's been washed, so I'm not going to ruin it. There's a lot of pressure that's taken off when you thrift. And then even more so, like Erin's saying in chat here, if you're buying it to then, make it fit better, there's a lot of that's already kind of removed pressure-wise because it is thrifted, and that's absolutely correct. And I'm glad that somebody else can, feel that and put that into words. Because yeah, we don't need extra pressure. We have enough of that, with everything else. That, when we're trying to do good things to, just feel human and comfortable in our own bodies, we don't need extra pressures from everything else. And then, yeah, thrifting is also like super good for everybody. And, obviously it's hard to have ethical consumption under capitalism, but, if we can try our best to reduce, reuse, and recycle and, then make ourselves feel more comfortable in the process, then that's obviously going to just do better for everybody. So I know I always get a really like just proud kick when like my favorite like costuming or clothing YouTubers start with thrifted stuff too, or they buy dead stock fabric, or can use stuff from their stash. Like, yes, okay, I'm never going to stop getting excited about new fabric, especially when I can see indie designers and independent designers getting their fabric lines. Like, I am always so proud of other artists when they get their fabric line. And so like it's hard because like ethically, I might want to stop buying new fabric because there's so much that's already created. But then I want the opportunities for like independent designers to get their stuff. And so finding that balance, like just in fabric, like as a quilter is a tricky one. But then making like making the decision to support smaller artists, I think is never, ever a bad idea. Like, I don't like to just buy kind of whatever clip arty fabric from Joann's that they put out when I can support artists on Spoonflower or independent artists that have, landed a major fabric line. But then also, yes, if I'm just looking for like large amounts of something, buying thrifted material, or, buying dead stock fabric can be a good ethical choice too. And yes, Erin, I am just enthusiastic. I love that. I am like absolutely giddy over all of your suggestions. I am thrilled. Thank you so much. You're absolutely making my day. So yes, hooray for enthusiasm. And then yes, oh no, that new flat fabric is always going to be sexy. It absolutely is always going to be. So, we got to make the best choices we can with things. And, if I have to do a little bit extra reusing or mending or recycling to, justify it, I'm gonna still have my new fabric from time to time. So like there's a new artist I've been absolutely obsessed with. They go by the name of Mustard Beetle, and you should check out their work on Instagram. But I found them because they had gotten a major fabric deal with one of the big fabric companies, and absolutely fell in love with their fabric. If you saw the dress and the overalls I made for Little Sprout, those were all from their collection, The Wild Coast. And it's like, wow, this artist is incredible. I love this. And went to her Instagram, and she's a printmaker in Los Angeles doing really, really cool stuff that landed this deal. And it's like, wow, I can't believe they're like practically in my backyard. I wouldn't have known about them until they got, this big deal. So like, way to like absolutely do that art hustle, way to like absolutely slay there. But it's been fun to kind of connect back on the like grassroots level, and follow their Instagram and check out their little Etsy shop, and it's nice because I was able to do some Christmas shopping from them. And but yeah, I wouldn't have ever found them without their big brand deal. So it's like, if I hadn't been looking for brand new fabric, wouldn't have found this like local gem. And that's it's just kind of funny how sometimes you can find somebody right in your backyard through these like big deal connections. So yay for people out there. I was watching somebody else on stream who was talking about how they got, an art supply deal. And like, it's so crazy to watch, like, people like me, people like you guys, like getting these major brand deals. And, it's conflicting as like somebody who doesn't love capitalism, but on the other hand, like wants to support, wants to just absolutely root for, everybody doing their thing. Like that's goals. So, there's been some crazy, good energy in like kind of the Twitch art scene and the Instagram art scene lately. And I'm just proud of everybody. I really am. And that is true. In chat, Aaron's saying, but you are also going to adore all the things you made out of that fabric and use it to its final death after many rounds of deconstructing and reimagining. And that is absolutely true. Like already just from a couple yards of fabric, I was able to make my daughter some clothes. And, we're collecting all the scraps to, make into another quilt. And, there's part of me that's not looking forward to her outgrowing them just because I'm a parent. And my baby's growing up so fast. I just got her kindergarten school photo back, and that's unreal, absolutely unreal. But yes, the clothes will either be deconstructed or passed to friends when they have kids. And, like I've got clothes that were made for me as a small human that, my mom kept, and then my daughter wore them. And they're still in good condition to have somebody else wear them. Or, yeah, like Aaron's saying, we can reimagine, deconstruct, reconstruct, and it's true. So, yeah, there's, sometimes you do have to buy new materials. And it's, there are so many other things we can do to protect the planet and everything. And I'm trying to lean into the, like, visible mending movement and not buy fast fashion, and instead... if I have to buy new fabric and then make it into something that'll last generations, that's better than buying fast fashion. But really, we're all just kind of trying to do what we can. I realize that some of these things take, financial stability and or privilege and or time and place. Like, we can't do it all, and obviously take care of yourself first. Stay warm, stay clothed. Try and stay untriggered and just, live your life. But if we can make better choices, we pick and choose our battles because we're doing the best we can. We also gotta survive this crazy thing called life. Erin in chat says, I have some cast silver dinosaur buttons from a pair of handmade overalls that I wore as a kid. They've lived on sweaters and other things, and now they are back in my stash. That's amazing. Oh, they came to me at the age of 3, so we've been together for 33 years, me and the dino buttons. I love that. And it's also just making me have all the feels because I'm sewing on this dino quilt right now. That's amazing. That is such an incredible story, and I love that they have been on sweaters. And the dino buttons. Thank you for sharing that with me. I love the idea of keepsakes and handmade, like memories like that. Yes, so this quilt was fun. If you weren't here for the quilting of it, it's sea creatures, multicolored sea creatures on one side, and then it is dinosaurs on the back, because no kid can have too few or too many. No kid can have too many animals, and the parents wanted both, and so we figured what a fun way to kind of have it be reversible. We've got this really big, cool kind of dinosaur panel on the back, and then these cool skeletons, and then all the loving patchwork on the front, which I'm just really happy to have it be in all these fun kind of rainbow colors, and the pinks and the blues, and just say, you know what, there's, so much fun to be had. And I loved mixing in the bright colors too, because we didn't know the sex of the baby before it came, but it also didn't matter. Like, there are really cool pink fish in the ocean, and there's also the story of like rainbow fish and everything. So you know what, you're getting fantastic multicolor, because otherwise it's just all blue. I love blue as a color, but but why not have some fun with it? Like kids like bright colors. There's no gender with the ocean. So. Erin says, I also made my wedding dress on the sewing machine that my mom brought to make maternity clothes while she was pregnant with me, and then it died, and it was initially sad, but then concluded it had a full life. I love this quilt even more now that the ocean is not gendered. That's really cool. I learned to sew on my mom's machine that is amazingly still kicking. It's really neat when it's not just there's so much when it's the equipment and the knowledge, and I know not always the equipment can last, and I'm glad it had a full life and you were able to send it off. But yeah, there's something really amazing about one, learning to sew, and then when you can have it be a family tradition. If you don't have anyone in your family that's taught you to sew, you're family now and you're learning here, and you guys are part of the tradition now. But if you do, it's like with anything, it's just enriched. with all of this craziness that's been going on the last couple of years, we've lost family members, and we've had some scares, and it's like I can sit here and work on clothes for my kid and, feel close to my mom, who's, I'm actually living with right now and obviously very close to. But I feel close to my grandma, who's, nearly 3,000 miles away, and we can't be together. And I grew up with her not being here, physically, just because we moved. But, I can kind of make my own ways of being close to people by, clothing the ones that I love and learning the skills that have been passed through generations. And, it's finding ways to just kind of cope with all the craziness too, and, control what you can control. And I don't know, I feel like I have the strength of all the women behind me and people behind me. It happens to be that the matriarchs in my family were the ones that wielded this power, but my mom taught both me and my brother to sew. It's not like sewing is gendered, that's just how it happened to the chips fell. But I knew that regardless, I wanted to teach my child how to wield these hand-making powers, and I'm absolutely thrilled that my kiddo wants to learn. And I feel a connection, I feel a kinship, and I feel a power when I'm, making things. And so, through all of this, it feels grounded to be able to not only make things, because, just that feeling alone, even without the family history, is grounding, but then to just, kind of connect myself to people who've survived through some incredible things, just as we're going through some incredible things, it's got a magic to it. Absolutely. Yes, Erin, it says mine would have been fine, but I maybe dropped it in a move. As someone who's moved a lot, yes, I can commiserate there. I probably would have been fine at one point in my life, but I feel like I've been dropped in a move too many. No, I mean, my parents did their absolute best. We moved a lot, and it's one of those things where I'm simultaneously richer for it and can never know what I would be like if we didn't move. So I try not to live with any sort of regrets, because you can't change things. And then also, read enough sci-fi and thought enough about time travel to where even if I could change things, it wouldn't bring me the peace that I want. It would probably change things so drastically that I would lose the good that I do have. So I can't change anything, but the brain wonders what it would be like if things were different. Of course, that's what human brains do. But I'm here, and I'm alive, and that's a lot. That's a lot. So, I joke a lot. I think that's that good old millennial self-deprecating humor. But, I am very happy and very fortunate to be here and be alive and be doing what I'm doing. So, it gets better. It really does. It really does. All right. So before I get too lost down that rabbit hole of thought, you can see that I've kind of gone from this corner all the way down to about here. So that's about half of the top. This is not quite a crib size quilt, but it's going to be kind of that perfect extra layer in the car, extra layer in the car seat. Can function as a throw, a picnic blanket, just wherever it needs to be quilt. We wanted to make it a little bit on the lighter side as well. Even though its recipient lives in Canada, it's still nice to have more layers than having everything be like super tactically winter, because there will always be summer, but then also just sometimes an extra light layer, especially with kids, because they make everything a mess. It's easier to clean than having to have two thinner layers than to have one thick layer that then isn't as machine washably friendly, or then you can strip the layers off a little bit easier too. So that was the thought on this. Another thing, just pro tip here, if you were working on anything actually, but especially for young children, it's best when you're sewing to put in more knots than you might normally think about, just because kids are probably going to be rougher. It's going to go through the washing machine a little bit more. And that way, if it does end up breaking, you may only lose like an inch or two of binding that would need to be repaired versus like 6 inches. And then there's no like choking hazards, or not that this would be dangerous. It's more just then it's less for like the parent to have to fix. And then it doesn't start ripping and become an issue. We always want safety first for the small humans, but it's also just a good practice too, because, anytime you can make something that's just that little bit more secure, it's just safer for everybody. So, plus if you've got like blanket chewers, then there's not, a lot of loose threads or big strips that can come off. I've got a chewer in my family, my kiddo. So anytime we make her like fidgets or chewy quilts, we definitely make sure they are nice and strong and secure so that there's no loose threads or anything. But let's see, in chat, one of my favorite things to do at the art museum is to look at the oldest portrait I can find and imagine all the people represented in the picture. Who wove the cloth, sewed the dress, embroidered the details, cast the closures. That, it's so interesting to think, like just with that comparison alone, if you were to walk into a museum, find a picture, and start just looking at the clothing. Like, there's so much history there. There's so many stories, so many people's lives. Like that one person wearing one garment, their lives were touched by so many different people. And that's, not to minimize it, but that's just the clothing. You think of any of the other things going, the person who then made the canvas or made the paint, what was the artist wearing when they sewed that, who made the brushes, like, not to go down a rabbit hole, but absolutely to go down a rabbit hole, like, just every single thing that the people in the portrait were wearing, and then the artist was using tool-wise, like, had masters behind it. And we, I find a common misconception when people hear, oh, you're an artist, is, to assume that I paint. And it's absolutely no insult, that it's the stereotype, or what's kind of funny is that I don't paint. But it's more just, like, even in just the art of painting, there was the brush maker, the paint maker, the palette maker, the canvas stretcher, and those are all fundamentally part of it. And we don't even think about that being connected to just painting. Never mind then, like Erin was saying, like looking at the people in the portrait and who made the clothes and who made the fastenings and the embroidery, and then you've got the jewelry and everything. Like, there's so much that we really don't think about, even though we're kind of more connected than we ever were. There's almost an overload of information now, but just with a historical perspective looking back, like, that is such a fun kind of game to play. And next time I want to make sure I take extra attention to look at all of those things. Like, you feel like you already look at art differently being in the arts, but it's like, wow, that was a whole other angle. I was looking for chiaroscuro techniques and whether or not this was oil or acrylic, and now you're looking at the subject matter and looking beyond symbolism. You're looking at just practicalities. That's now I'm like itching to go to a museum. I'm always itching to go to a museum. That's just my modus operandi, but now I really want to, and that would be fun too. I think another thing that y'all hear me talk about a lot too is re-experiencing everything through the eyes of my kiddo. Little Sprout, my daughter, she is 5.5 and a very bright little kid, and I adore her, and it's been so much fun to show her, like, the world, for one, but then, like, the things that we do, and traditions and art, and just kind of see what makes her brain tick, and then, taking her to a museum and talking about these things. And it's really cool because, kids already are going to approach it differently. I've always loved working with kids. I do have a background in teaching, which is kind of what led to this whole Twitch thing too, is I love to share. I love to have discussions, like, forget small talk. Yeah, let's talk about who made the buttons in a antique portrait. But yeah, to see it through a kid's eyes and wonder what they see, and then be able to kind of put that into practice. It reminds me, I was teaching at a summer camp about a decade ago, and I was teaching sewing. It was a camp for kids with absolutely brilliant kids, but with learning disabilities. And so, I already had an incredible group of kids who saw the world differently. So that was already super fun. But then to kind of blow their minds, because they were right at that like pre-middle school age where they're starting to think they know everything. And then you get to kind of still kind of tip the world on their heads and blow their minds, because they're still, they're not jaded enough, but they're also smart enough to, like really, really see these things and start kind of challenging things. And we were talking about sewing, and of course there's always a kid who like gives me lip about like, well, when am I even going to use this? Like, sewing's for grandmas and everything. And we then were trying to find everything in the little cabin that was sewn, and we were, turning the hems of our shirts inside out and just counting all the things that like just a sewing machine had touched. And that was just, the industrial stuff. And they didn't realize that, their shoes were sewn and their clothes were sewn. Like, yes, it's obvious if you ask somebody, hey, do you know that your clothes were made on a sewing machine? Like they can figure that out. But to really have their minds blown that, like, no, this isn't an antiquated skill. Those fashions that you love so much, those are still sewn. The shoes that you love so much, those still involve industrial machines. Like all of a sudden sewing was a lot cooler to them. And I was like, yes. And then what we did is my little unit, we talked about, the unit was called Making Monsters. And so we talked about, like biological adaptation and like situational evolution, and how like creatures, like if you're going to make up a creature, so it's like a little bit character design, a little bit science, like do they have flippers and why? Do they, breathe air through lungs, or do they have gills? How many eyes do they have? And so we had them, develop an environment and then develop a character that fit that environment, and then we sewed that plushie. And so it was really to kind of bring in all those like STEAM and STEM elements. And it was so much fun. It was absolutely so much fun. But you had to watch all these like kids that probably hadn't been presented with sewing as anything but an antiquated, like, almost stereotyped, like, oh, grandma just sews. And it's like, no, it's still such an outlet for creative expression. And it's something that's still completely relevant today. It's not like it went anywhere. Every single time I had a turnover in kids and I got to start over again, because I only had the kids for a week in my class, it was just like these waves of just watching this realization hit over and over. And man, that never got old, just riding that wave of, wait, what? Sewing is cool. And, it might not have lasted beyond the camp, but I know that there were definitely, some really stubborn kids in there that I made them think differently. And I will forever be proud of that. It's like, I got you to look at the world a little differently now. I hope that continues, And so that's something that I've been absolutely like, I love with teaching and getting able to still kind of share that. And I think that's one of the things that's so appealing about like Twitch and YouTube. And I just get to be a giant dork, and then I get to talk to you guys about all the things we love to like dork about. And like nerds have fun, and this is an absolute blast, and we all get to teach each other different things. Like I learned just as much from you guys as I hope you learn from me, and like I feel so rich for it. Sewing is magical. Yes, it is. Skip the small talk. I want to discuss the buttons. I want that on a pin, on a button. It's true, though. Like, yes, small talk has a time and a place, but, like, have you ever talked about buttons? Because buttons are fascinating. Everything's fascinating. I mean, like really, not to launch into a whole nother thing, but, like, if you just step back for a second and then look at how much has gone historically or engineering or scientifically into pick a button. We are on a rock flying through space, and yet we can have silver dinosaur buttons. We can have shiny things that, it show the world who we are, and we can use them in practical ways and impractical ways, and just the way we can adorn ourselves, and we can celebrate history and interests and techniques and just artistry for the sake of artistry. Like I'm, I'm glad we live in a world where there are buttons. I love that in chat. My gender identity is crone, so here for the sewing with old lady energy. Wonderful. I love that so much. I love that. Quilting Kabbalah says, Little Sprout loves buttons. Yes, my daughter loves buttons, almost to my detriment. I cannot vacuum without there being buttons. Which, I mean, big picture, don't tell her this, but yes, if I had to pick a problem to have, I could have it much worse. So, but doesn't mean I don't love, or doesn't mean that I wouldn't like to vacuum one day without some buttons. But on the other hand, I wouldn't trade where she is or who she was or will be for the world. So if my penance to pay is buttons, then I shall gladly pay it because I love my tiny human so much. And, yes, we all probably do and did and will always do things that drive our parents absolutely crazy. Sorry, Mom. So if I have buttons everywhere, then that is what I will have. I'll be happier when she is interested in sewing said buttons to everything. Right now, the buttons are everywhere in the path and on the floor. And she also really loves her pretend kitchen. And so sometimes she'll just serve me like a felt tortilla filled with like 20 buttons. And it's cute until I'm making the bed or I go to lie down and there's a button in my bed. And so I try to have the like no hard toys in the bed rule, but she's 5. And someday I'm going to miss the button burritos. So, I'm trying to soak it up. I can pretend to be salty about it, but really I'm just, I'm pretty happy where I am. Oh, my kid's a good kid. And I hope that I'm, giving her a place where she's able to, be silly and be free and make button burritos. Because that childhood goes so quickly, man. So quickly. And that's why I love the sewing and the costuming and the everything. I hope that, much like me, that it sticks with my kid and gives her just that ability to, deconstruct and see things in that artistic way, whether or not she becomes an artist. I don't think she will. She wants to be an animal doctor, and I see the passion and the spark there. But honestly, you don't have to be an artist to be an artist. Seeing things the way an artist sees things isn't a career. It's just a mindset. And I think once that you've had the opportunity to even just take an art class one time or have a friend point something out, you do see the world differently. And so you can be an artist without having to do it professionally. I think that's definitely one of the things we are culturally and societally shifting to, realizing that, it's your career is not your personality and vice versa. You can be a multitude of things. And, even being an artist doesn't necessarily mean I'm a classically trained oil painter. It means so many things. It really just means I'm a bit of a weirdo, but guess what? I'm thrilled and happy with that. I think being an artist has given a little bit more freedom to live outside of society's lines a little bit, and that's helped play into who I am and all that. But I think too, it's just because you're good at drawing or whatever doesn't mean you're going to be an artist. Like, sure, I can be an artist. I can also be a farmer. I can also be a vet. Like, it's really less of a career thing and more of a just personality thing, I think. Of course I'm playing right into the stereotype by being a professional artist, but whatever. Can be whatever I want. I think that's what's cool too about, being able to be like a variety streamer and YouTuber is, everything that I'm doing is going to be just whatever sparks my interest. And, hopefully that, you guys, like I say, are having just as much fun as I am, and we just get to do all of this together. That's super rewarding and not a career that I ever would have. I mean, heck, this didn't exist back when I was in high school. or was just starting to, kind of split from a single cell into multiples of a being. But this was never something that was on the forefront. So like, I'm excited just to see where things go from here. It's like, if I can be an artist in ways that like never were possible before, what are careers going to be like by the time, like Little Sprout's looking at making a living, or how's that all going to work, so it's been neat. It's been very neat. And big picture, I'm pretty new to the whole like streaming thing and the whole YouTube thing. Again, one of those, know a lot in theory, but now I'm finally putting in the time for practice. So that's been an interesting kind of divergence as well. So, because it's funny too, because like, scope of practice wise, I'm just doing the same stuff I always did. I just never had an audience, never filmed it before. It was normally just stuff I did in between like my quote unquote normal day jobs. So now to kind of shift it, to have all you guys like kind of virtually here in the bus with me is really cool. Like, and that's what I wanted to make, was this, welcoming atmosphere. Like, also too, if you are new, because I do see some new names in chat, good to see you guys. My name's Catherine. I use she, they pronouns, but we are inside a school bus. I know it's a little hard to tell sometimes, and I really want to set up some outside shots. But Art here is a reclaimed school bus. He's a schoolie. And he was decommissioned from his fleet, and so I reclaimed and recycled him into an art studio. At the moment, he is not mobile, but that doesn't define the worth or anything. Right now, it's just been absolutely perfect to have this studio space as it is, and it's really been a fun project to kind of, like I said, recycle something as big as a school bus. Art is a shorty, so a short bus. But it's still a pretty big undertaking. It's about 100 square feet inside, so not huge, but works out really well for me in the scope of my studio practice. And then when my kiddo started kindergarten, and just with the state of everything, and then her needs and her requests, we started homeschooling. And so the back third of the bus is actually her homeschool classroom, and then the front 2/3 is my studio space. So it's been really nice to have her like this close, and then, like I said, it was really a fun undertaking to renovate an entire school bus into this setting, and kind of join the schoolie community. Schoolie is slang for reclaimed school buses. A lot of them people live completely like on the road out of these magnificent homes on wheels, ranging, from these tiny little, like less than 100 square feet ones to full size buses, even some city buses, which are really cool. But like I said, right now, Art is not a traveling bus. He and I are here, parked for the moment, but that's okay. That is okay. We are happy to be settled right now, so. But yes, that's why I will occasionally make references and say things like the bus's doors are always open, and that's because they are. I want you guys to be just as comfortable on board the bus as I am, and it's my way of, even if we're not moving physically and we're just moving virtually, it's my way of taking my art to you and bringing you guys along for the ride. So thank you for being here. All right, I am to the corner, which is really exciting. So I am... Let me see if I can get you guys a better view. So we are, again, covering that raw edge with the binding. And what I'm taking is this binding, folding it in half, and then folding it over so that there's all these really nicely finished edges, and it gives a nice kind of tactile stiffness to the edge of the blanket. I am definitely a fan of bound blankets. I like the way that they feel. It's something about... I don't know, maybe it's the constraints in the edge of the blanket and just knowing the boundaries, or just kind of having that, like I said, kind of textile, tactical thing to feel. But I've always enjoyed quilt binding and blanket binding in general. Thank you. So BioJ, he is my mod. Just dropped my YouTube link in the chat. So if you guys have a moment, I would love to see you guys over on that part of my little corner of the internet. I just dropped a video today talking about the costuming that I was doing earlier. So that video is up. I had been doing every other Sunday as my upload day, but now I am streaming on Sundays. So that may change. I'll let you guys know what my upload day will be. Originally it was Thursdays, and I may go back to that. But, you know, just trying to balance the old, you know, mom life and art life as we figure this thing out. So it'll stay Sundays for now, but I'll let you guys know if that does change. But I'd love to see you there. And I just made a Discord last night, and I realized I didn't invite my mod to it. So then by next chat, I will have a Discord invite link, because I'd love to see. I'm starting to use Discord more. One of those things where I've definitely used it personally, but hadn't made one for, you know, this stuff. But I've been having a lot of fun on other people's Discords, and figured why not make a Catherine Everything one. So that way you guys, my everythings, you guys can hang out and you get a little like glimpse behind the scenes on some of the stuff, and be the first people to know when we go live, and you know, if there's upcoming things like giveaways. As we get a little bit closer to the holiday season, which we are rapidly approaching, I will be participating in a couple charity giveaways, charity streams, that kind of thing, which has always been something I've wanted to do ever since live streaming became a possibility. And so for this year, since I am so new, I will probably just be partner to other people's, but with the goal of setting my own charity live streams for other seasons coming up. But just like I said, thrilled to be part of it in any way that I can, especially as a newer streamer. So okay, so I have made it around the corner, which is always just, you know, one of those like little fiddly bits that I need to focus on for a hot second. But that is the whole top edge. So we're making progress. This is definitely, for me, the part that takes the longest with quilting, is the binding. It's, I mean, just by the math, I mean, you're going around the entire perimeter. So like surface area wise, it's a lot of sewing. And then I prefer to do mine by hand. So, you know, we're talking, what, 25 feet probably of hand stitching. And so it takes a hot second. But it's worth it. It's also something that I'm a little bit out of practice on, and you know how quickly the time flies. It's like I swear I just bound something. I was just working on a project, but you know, between life happening and then working on 27 other projects in between, you know, things get rusty. I will talk a lot about my banjo. That is something near and dear to my heart, but especially as an artistic millennial who you definitely fell to the monetize your hobbies, and then, you know, maybe you won't have to work a crappy day job. I definitely tried to make a small business or monetize just about everything I did, and almost to my detriment. Like, I love what I do, but I definitely learned to slow down and not have an Etsy shop for every single thing I make, and focus on some bigger long-term things. Like I have some self-published children's books that I've learned to put like more concentrated effort in, instead of worrying about cranking out things just to sell. But one of the other bigger departures was to find a hobby that was kind of art adjacent, so that I didn't feel any pressure to monetize it, and do it just for me. And for me, what that hobby is playing the 5-string banjo. And that is something that I will, like, I jam with my friends. I have the most amazing banjo teacher, and I miss him. We haven't been able to get together because of this whole panini. But, you know, I jam with my friends, but it's not something I, like, want to do professionally. And so I like to tell people that that is my thing that I'm allowed to, like, unapologetically suck at. It's for me. If I'm terrible, it's for me. There's no pressure. But I hadn't been able to play my banjo in forever, and I realized how rusty I had gotten in such a what felt like a short time. And so yeah, sometimes I'll like jump between so many things that by the time I get back, 12 things later, it's like, oh, I got rusty again. Gotta polish that rust off. But doing what we can, trying to keep myself sane. In chat, tell us about your children's books, please. I would love to. I get to nerd out. Okay, so I have a series of self-published children's books that are called the monsters. And so that's 3 M's and then the word monsters. And so it's supposed to evoke just this, like, what are we wondering about? And so each book is a standalone book that focuses on one subject. Right now I have an art book and I have a food book. And so they are STEAM and STEM story and activity books. So you go through the story with a group of monsters and they kind of wonder the who, what, when, where, why of the subject. And then at the back of the book, each monster guides you and your little monsters through 4 self-guided activities that are designed to be repeated. I'm very much a student of the process versus product school of thought. So like learning to make for the sake of experimenting and exploration versus learning to make to get a perfect product. So all of those are designed to be repeated. And so those are my pride and joy, my monsters books. And so, yeah, like I said, they are self-published, and I have the 2 out. The art one is called Muse Monsters, and the food one is Munchie Monsters, because I cannot resist some good alliteration. So those, I'm working on the 3rd and 4th, which will be mechanics, so mechanic monsters, and probably mind monsters. I've been thinking about one that deals with both the scientific and the emotional side of the mind. So that is what I work on kind of as my business side of things. I love to take those, especially before all this craziness, to conventions and book signings and that kind of thing. It's always a pleasure to do that. And so, yeah, also to kind of wrap it under the umbrella of Catherine Everything, because I definitely ran a kind of split art practice where I had my fine art on one side and my children's books on the other side, and then just kind of whatever you would classify this in the middle. But being able to bring everything under kind of one business umbrella and just be able to stream and talk about like everything, not only just takes that kind of marketing weight off of me for not having to maintain like 6 different social, personalities, but also just it allows it to all be kind of easily attributed. And then it's just me doing my thing, But it's been a really, really fun journey, kind of navigating the self-publishing world, and that whole industry was definitely a trip. But it's been nothing short of rewarding. I've met some really, really good friends in the author world. And really just it kind of, everything has been just this really fun kind of expansion of like what it means to be an artist, like personally and professionally. And then, like I said, this whole Twitch thing kind of came from a similar vein of, I have some education background, been a camp counselor, been an art teacher, went to get my master's in teaching before I had some personal stuff kind of blow up. But the books were a way for me to be able to share that and kind of create these characters that have this love of learning. So that like, if I even, and it's not even about like me per se, but it's like, even if like I can't be there to like show this love, I can create these characters that kind of start to autonomously do that. And, each one of the monsters, they're non-binary, they use the singular they pronoun, and each one kind of embodies, a different kind of emotion. What I wanted to do with the characters was be able to have kids project in a lot of ways onto these monsters without fear of like gender biases. So like in the Muse Monsters book, for example, one of the characters, their name is Filbert. They are tiny, and their a tail is shaped like a paintbrush. And so when the characters are put into one of the situations, they're in a museum, and somebody just assumes that they know how to paint because they look like a paintbrush. And turns out Filbert, they don't like to paint. They actually have a lot of sensory issues and don't like the way that that feels, and kind of having to juggle that massive assumption. It comes from, like that feeling of being like the gifted kid that's kind of expected to know everything, or the artist that's kind of expected to know how to paint, or, even kind of flipping it like the gruff kid that's just supposed to not like to be sensitive. I find that when you give kids characters that are three-dimensional, they're going to relate in ways that maybe they didn't know that they needed. And kind of giving kids an option to have a character that's, called out on something that they don't want to and has to kind of fight that stereotype or that like expectation, and learns how to find an adaptation. That's one of the things that was important to me, was that whether it be through the character speaking up for themselves or finding a way to adapt to that situation. They find just in the art sense that they liked to create art, but because they didn't like the way that the materials felt, they always felt like they weren't doing art right, or they look like a paintbrush, but they didn't like the feeling of paint. They end up finding dry medium. And so it's like, you can still do these things, but you can make it accessible. You can make it to where like you don't have to be somebody else's version of these things. And it's subtle, but it's in there. And like, I want, without gender, I don't want, oh, of course the girl is sensitive, or there's another character that's very just kind of almost brutish in their approach, and I don't want it to be like, of course, well, that one's the boy. It's like, no, I've had times where, I want to just smash things, and there should be a way to express that and find a way without it having to come down to gender or to race or to anything. It's like, nah, man, I'm a kid and I want to just smash things. And so that was important to me, no matter the medium, was to find ways to make these different things approachable, and hopefully find a way for kids to be like, oh no, I'm like Filbert, I'm not sensitive, I'm not dramatic, I'm not these words that can be very, very loaded. It's like, nah, remember when Filbert didn't want to touch the stuff? Hey, that's me. And if it helps somebody, remove a mask that they were having, or find the words to work with parents or doctors or behavioral psychologists, well, then, consider my life work like achieved. But here in chat, I've struggled to find a way to monetize my interests outside of my day job, which I do enjoy, because there was such a strong pressure to be succinct in the presentation of, quote, your brand. I am pleased that the perspective is dissolving. It felt very reductive. And I struggled a lot with that too. I have a big background in marketing. That's what I did, like, I guess is my profession, my day job. And it makes sense in some ways to have everything tucked away into neat little boxes. This is my children's book box. This is my fine art box. You don't want to muddy the water. What if, a gallery doesn't want to see, your live stream? They only want to see your fine art. Till I realized, like, yes, there are, like, that's kind of what, like, a CV is for. If I'm applying to something incredibly specific, I may want to be, like, selective in my stuff. But, like, big picture, I'm trying to connect with people around the world because I do all of this, not because I do one thing. And I don't want to limit myself. And it's still hard. I still struggle with it because it can feel very messy. Which, I'm a bit of a hot mess. It can feel very messy to have it all under one label. I still do maintain separate social profiles for the children's books, just because that is still easier for, like, conventions and stuff. But it is nice to have it underneath one umbrella and not have 6 different Etsy shops and 6 different Facebook pages. But no, I'll admit it is still a struggle because, it's the old school expectation that it would be 6 different brands. But no, I think people are starting to fight that too. And it's like, hey, if it all came from me, it's all my brand. Now legally that gets into a whole other thing. Cause like, I've always dreamt of like, well, what happens if a publisher wants to like buy the children's books off of me? And if it's so mixed up in my own stuff. So like, that's why I kind of still maintain that one a little separately, is so that I can have brand growth opportunity. But as far as like everything else, like this is just me doing my stuff. And if the kind of polymath craziness is too much, then it's that's too bad. I'm starting to very much learn that I cannot please everybody, and so I need to do what makes the most sense for me, because even if I had it sorted into neat little boxes, it might not work for someone that way too. So I empathize, and I'm sad that you had a similar struggle, because it shouldn't have to be a struggle, but I completely understand why it is. And so I do hope that you are able to find, like kind of a whatever works for you as far as, how you are branding, or making kind of your whole creative identity, be it, in one piece or, kind of strategic separation there. Also in chat, oh, I hate clay for sensory reasons. I almost failed a clay class in undergrad because that dry clay on my skin feeling is just the actual worst. I would agree. I mean, it's one of those things too where I think a lot of people tend, if they don't have sensory issues, may not understand that like that can be something that's like an issue one day and not an issue another day, or it can be an issue all the time. And I definitely find that I'm distracted. Like some days it's a problem and some days it's not. So then you internalize like, well, am I just making this up? Is this a thing? Other people can get through it. Why can't I? But sensory issues are hard. They are absolutely hard. Smells are a big thing for me. Smells and clothing. And that was one of the things that was really, really interesting. I'm gonna get sidetracked again here. When I was a teacher with an organization called Tinker Garden, it was, it still exists. I don't teach with them any longer, just for personal reasons. They're still amazing, and my daughter still attends classes. I just no longer teach with them. One of the things they first taught us, which I thought was so incredibly progressive, was like when we did mud. And remember, these are nature-based classes for children. They never pushed us as teachers to force the kids to touch anything. We were very much encouraged to give kids tools if they didn't want to touch it with their hands, or let them manipulate mud or sticks or stones in other ways, because they very much understood fundamentally that sensory things are so important for kids, and it can be so stimulating and overwhelming and overstimulating. And so it was so refreshing to see a corporation, that had this reach to children, be able to be like, no, it's okay. We don't force these things, because some days mud is too much, and some days, you might want to take off your shoes and put your toes in the mud, but we're not going to force anyone to do anything in between. It's up to the kids. And to see that kind of shift in the teaching zeitgeist of so much consent was really, really important. And I've even, like I said, even though I no longer teach with them, it's still something that's stuck with me. And, my daughter still goes to the classes, and I still love seeing just that approach. And, if adults in general could be half as accepting about sensory things, and not just dismiss people as like fussy, or, like, we would go a long way towards just mental health acceptance, and just kind of, like ASD and ADHD and all that kind of spectrum awareness. So no, I sympathize and empathize, and I'm glad you didn't fail your class, but I understand how much pressure that must have been. Oh, I like that. In chat, to quote my best friend, if they think you are too much, then they can go find less. It's one of those where I love that so much, but it's still so hard to internalize. It's still hard to not feel like too much, or to feel too messy, or too scattered, or too loud, or too much. But I am fighting that, and finding like-minded people, and putting it in these ways. It's true. You know what? That's the thing. They can go find less. So it's absolutely true. Yeah. So, man, it is. There's so many things that I think people that are not in the, not to say that they're not in the art world, but, just even this chat today, just the amount of mediums we've discussed, and the amount of things that can be such a triumph and such a struggle and such a fight, just in art. Like, it's an empathy that I think a lot of people are missing when they think about, like, I know a lot of people are dismissive with like streamers and YouTubers and artists in general, because it's like, oh, well, you're just making art all day, you're just playing video games all day, you're just doing this. And it's like, I might just be doing this, but some days, getting out that medium or doing the process that it takes to get that art ready and then get into that art headspace, it's a lot. It is a lot. And so no, I don't like people being reductive. You're just doing this. It's like, nah, man, like, I love watching video game streamers because I can't focus on a video game more than about an hour. And sometimes I get mad, and it depends on where I am as far as like, are my meds working and that kind of stuff. But I see people and I'm like, I can't just play video games. But them providing the commentary and being there for the like community, I can focus more. And so like I'm able to, see stories that I feel like wouldn't be accessible to me otherwise, because I can't just play a video game. And with art, like watching people create, sometimes we're not in the position to have these materials or have the time, or, like I hope to kind of break down the accessibility barrier where it's like, let's learn together and learn what's, what we can do, just small pieces. You don't have to jump in at expert level. You can just try, mending clothes from the thrift store. You don't have to start being a fashion designer. You can approach it in all these different ways. And, even if you are just here for the inspiration or here for the community and then it manifests in other ways, I don't think there's anything wrong with just being a streamer, just making art. I love that feeling when I'm watching other streamers, even if they're working on something that like I don't do, I still leave with like such a creative high that I'm like, I want to make things, I want to change the world, I want to put a bee on something, and that was cool. And that's like such a gift that artists can give, and other personalities can give. I like love being super pumped up from a Let's Play. And I think luckily that is starting to change, but it is still an interesting discussion. Like when people are like, "Hey, what do you do?" It's like, "Hey, I'm a streamer. I'm a YouTuber." There are some weird. It kind of feels like introducing myself as an artist all over again, where people just don't quite know what to say to that. But you know what? Like I said, and like we've said and was in chat, I probably just too much for them, and that's they can go find less. But also, what? I'm learning to be confident in how much I am. It's part of it. But I am also glad that things are changing, and just kind of we are learning to appreciate. Like it's really cool to watch that it's such a like. Technology is evolving so quickly that we're actually almost kind of getting back to a renaissance. With all this high-powered technology, we can watch anything we want. And I love that a huge amount of people are choosing to watch people doing things that may have been, scoffed off as antiquated, and kind of seeing the like rise in cottagecore and all of these things come back, everything that's old being new again. It's like, yes, we're using this high power technology and like global connectivity to watch people, call sheep and quilt and can and grow things. And I'm here for it. I am definitely here for it. I think there is a call to living a little slower, but also like not censoring yourself. So it's like I love simultaneously slowing down and living slower, but then also just living a little, louder in who I am and not being so worried about kind of fit in a mold anymore. And it's hard. I mean, I wish I had half the confidence I had now as a teen. And then, probably by the time I hit like 40, I'm going to be like, if I hadn't spent so much time in my 20s and 30s worried about what people thought, I'd be freer. So, things are changing, and I do think it's for the best. Even if it is hard to explain, what it is that I do. I'm glad it's part of an overall kind of cultural and kind of zeitgeist shift to watch artisans and crafters and creators and gamers and makers just slow down and do. So. And that's one of the things too that I want to have in my Discord. I'm going to talk a little bit ahead of myself because it's almost set up. I want you guys to have a place where you can share what you're doing, and in an absolutely like no pressure contest kind of way, but in just a way where it's like, you know, I love seeing what other people are doing. I love like messaging my friends and being like, yo, what are you guys working on today? I love the accountability in a lot of ways of having a community. Not that I like need anyone's pressure or permission. It's more just like if I am excited about something and then I share and someone else is excited about it, you know, it gives me that good dopamine that my brain needs, and then I'm going to finish it. And yeah, it's for me. But you know, knowing that other people out there are proud of it and that I can be proud of other people too. And I want to root for you, you know, that's thrilling. It's beyond thrilling. You know, like, I want to see your Animal Crossing island. I want to see a meal you made. I think there's something just in the joy of making that is so incredibly powerful. It is magic. It absolutely is magic. So I'm coming along the side. I'm about a third of the way down this long edge. So getting there. I'm actually going to turn on a fan really quick because it decided to be 72 degrees today. So pardon me while I jump up and get that. In the last couple months, we did a ton of renovation on the bus. I put in new floor and curtains, but that was in the summer. And now as we kind of shift to different solstices, the light's coming in a little bit differently here. So I got to learn how to adjust. I guess I need new curtains. So pardon me for 2 seconds while I check in. Gotta make sure my little sprout is good, because gotta balance being an adult human in charge of a tiny human. I'm also gonna drink some coffee. You guys make sure you're staying hydrated, and if you need a snack, get a snack. I will try and take my own advice, but for now we'll ingest the caffeine. How else will I talk at 3,000 words a minute? Alright, mic's back on, okay. So I'm gonna I'm gonna take a couple of these clips and set up a little bit more binding. These are one of my favorite tools ever, are these little clippies. One, because they're really satisfying to clip together, which is something my daughter loves to do too. You can make snakes out of them, and then like the top one's the mouth, so it's like meh. But they work really well for doing binding. I mean, that's kind of what their designation and words, that's what they're made for. But what's really nice is they hold binding really, really well. You can see I've got them all over this edge of the quilt. But because of how my brain works, I was sewing that direction last time I picked this up, but then decided this direction was easier to sew from today. So all my clips are over there. But I'm getting close to where they will line back up. That's the good news about going in a, I'd say circle, but it's really a rectangle. But going in a loop is that I will eventually hit where I've put in other efforts. So I don't know if any of you guys that sew do that. I love to sew like to the left one day and then like to the right the other, and I never quite know which direction I'm going. So that goes back to the you can't make me choose anything. Today I'm gonna go left and tomorrow I'm gonna go right. So, oh, in chat, let's see. I'm not blind. I'm just TV is away from me. I have Gember. Hi, Endo Bobbin sent me. Hello, thank you. It's fantastic to have new viewers in chat, new viewers and old viewers alike. I'm very honored to have been recommended there. We have been doing quite a bit of chatting today with dear Erin. I just made a giant knot, so while I untangle that, feel free to introduce yourself. Let me know what you do, and don't worry if you're shy, I won't call you out past that, but if you'd like to chat, I am happy to have chatters especially while I get myself a little situated from this. Great first impression, right? Like, hey, I'm a hot mess. There we go. I was having all sorts of thread issues yesterday while I was doing some English paper piecing, so I should consider myself lucky to have made it this far in this quilt without completely tripping over my, Oh, well, thank you. I really appreciate that. Without tripping over my feet. Or my thread, as it be. Oh, I am absolutely, absolutely chuffed. Thank you, guys. Alright, so for those of you who are just joining, today is kind of a housekeeping day. I'm finishing up a couple little tasks that may not have made a stream on their own. A couple streams ago, we quilted this baby quilt for a new human that came into our lives, and today I am binding it. I was quilting on a little pillow earlier that just needed a little bit of work, and then depending on how the time goes, I have a kind of Yuletide Christmas project that I keep kind of encroaching on over here that I was working on yesterday. So just doing a little bit of variety streaming here today. Also talking about some kind of rebranding and housekeeping as far as the channel goes, but really just having a chill day where we are talking about anything and everything and how much we appreciate buttons. Alright, in chat, Gember says, I am a 26-year-old guy from the Netherlands. I'm working on becoming a social worker by experience. That is super cool. I am super impressed and definitely proud of you, because we need social workers and people who understand the complexities of mental health, and just, you are going to be helping so many humans, and that is awesome. The Netherlands is in there somewhere I actually haven't been, but that is super cool. I grew up in Scotland, so I have a little bit of European experience, but not as much as I would love. Yeah, I hope you will. I hope you will too. I believe in you. That's a very, very noble profession, but also just you've got to have a really good heart and a really good brain, and you know, I really do think that you're picking a really, really, really noble a career there, and I'm proud for you. I just met you, but I am proud for you, because I know I've been benefited from therapists and behavioral psychologists, and social work is incredibly important, so thank you. So in chat, I've been through some stuff and I want to help people that have been through the same. I completely respect that. I think one of the things that has been really shifting generation-wise is, you know, it's hard to be emotionally vulnerable. It's hard to kind of lay your own trauma out and say, this is me, you know, if you have similar baggage, maybe let's travel together. And you know, the shift from like, I suffered, so should you, to the shift of, I suffered, so I don't want you to, is such a powerful shift. And I'm glad to see society kind of slowly edging its way towards that. But, you know, anyone that's out there sharing their story in any capacity, you know, I salute you. And really to like jump in and make that your entire career and devote your life, that is, you know, absolutely a round of applause for you. And I really, really wish you the best. And I wish the people that come in contact with you the best. I really, like I said, you know, benefited myself personally from people like you, and it's changed my life. So if you go out there and change one life and it keeps going and going, like you're doing really, really good things. So without getting too emotional about it, I'm very, very proud. So. May I ask about it? I will have to ask you to be a tad bit more specific. I'll do a quick kind of intro, and then maybe we can figure out where we are. But you know, just I am an adult who was diagnosed at like 29 with ADHD and had to come over a lot of just internalized crutches. But then also, you know, without giving too much personal stuff, you know, everyone has some trauma, and I have, you know, been taken advantage of in situations, physically, and just have had, like trauma from living on this earth. And then, I identify as pansexual genderqueer, and that comes along with, quite a lot of baggage. And I'm trying to raise a, tiny human with, some stuff going on. And it was actually through her behavioral psychologist that I got my diagnosis, my referral to a specialist who got my diagnosis. And so, like, that's a lot as a parent, to be juggling. So no, it's one of those things where, like, just anything that you have to carry for any amount of time gets heavy. And the more you have to carry, the more weighted down you get, and the more masks that you have to put on, until, it's very easy to forget who you are or who you want to be. And, without mental health professionals, without social workers, without behavioral psychologists, without therapists of every type, like, societally, we're not really taught how to put that baggage down, or, even how to put it down, but never how to put it away, how to unpack that, how to, it's just something we're kind of expected to be quiet about and carry. And I know that it's different in different parts of the world, and I, of course, am speaking with an American perspective here. I'm, big picture, Los Angeles, California, but, it is different around the world, and so I obviously would never speak for everyone or for, even one place, but, it's just, I am happy anytime I see a ripple in this acceptance and just celebration of doing better by mental health as a whole. So, okay, in chat, oh yeah, so Aaron's like, yay, they're here. And then in chat, that's quite a burden, I must say. I must say how you talk about this and the way you are. I really respect you. You seem like a smart, genuine, and wholesome person. I really appreciate that. I think in that similar vein where, you've been through things and you want to help other people, like, it definitely takes a huge step to realize that, like, you got to share that to get the other people. And I think one of the best quotes I've ever come across is, like, someday your story might be somebody else's survival guide. And that one really clicked with me as both kind of as a survival kind of prepper nerd, and also just as someone who's been through trauma, where, if you don't share your story, someone else is going to stumble along that exact same path. And, like, not that I believe that guilt's a good motivator, but, like, one day it hit me where it's like, I would feel terrible if someone else in my life went through something I went through and I didn't tell them about it, and I could have helped. But, people, it's a lot to put on somebody who's going through something, like, oh, well, you should have just asked. Well, no, you had no idea that I had experience because I wasn't forthcoming with it. And so kind of learning how to be forthcoming with that and to share it and to own it. And, it's not easy. But I feel freer being able to talk about it with like-minded people, being able to talk about just, like, I've realized I was being judged as a straight-passing, het-passing, cis-passing, middle-class white woman in America. So, like, if people are going to judge me for all of that, like, why not start to take those back and just be who I am without all this mask? Because it didn't matter how invisible I made myself. It wasn't ever enough for anybody. So to take those masks off and say, you know what, even if at the peak of what society wants me to be, I'm still not enough, I'm still judged for it. No, I'd rather be, who I am, and then find a community and be able to take someone else and, be like, hey, the road is rocky here, watch out, instead of pretending that it just never happened, never existed. And, it's terrifying, absolutely terrifying. Between taking off the masks and becoming a mom, I don't think I've ever been more cracked open. But that's why, mad respect to the social workers and the people who are honest and the people who are open. Because, without you guys and without other people telling, our stories, we're all just going to do this. We're all just going to hurt. And I don't want anybody to hurt. And so, I trying to make a cozy space, trying to make a safe place, because I know what it's like to not. So I'm going to keep the bus doors open, and we're going to talk, and, you guys can sit and sew with me, and no, we'll never be blind or ignore what's going on in the world, but, for 30 seconds you can leave your baggage at the door and take a breath and know that, it's not all going to come crumbling down. So thank you guys. Also in chat, I gotta scroll back up here. You guys are chatting and I'm getting emotional, and I love you guys. The stream is good vibes. Well, that's because you guys are here too. Like, you guys are making the vibes, and I'm here, and I'm trying my best, but you guys are the ones that are allowing me to share, and you guys are being open, and we're cracking this open together. So I often feel compelled to think the trauma that comes with your ableism, so that younger people who haven't encountered the BS, yeah, which is a lot to put on yourself. Absolutely, it is. Also in chat, you know yourself and you embrace every thought instead of running away. That's something I'm trying to learn. I really, really respect that. But I want to push the buttons of people who are ableist as heck, so they don't hurt people. I've already been through the trauma, You don't have to read. That's the thing though. Like, it's hard. It's hard, and a lot of times you feel like you have to go through it twice or thrice or a bunch of times, and it can be a lot of emotional labor and emotional weight, especially, and we've seen that in these last couple years where, things are being brought to our attention, and then the only people that we can truly know from are then re-experiencing trauma, and then we're having to ask them to explain their trauma, and it's hard because you want to ask the people that are there, but you also don't want to put more emotional labor on them. And so, yeah, we all, deserve to have safe spaces and then be able to take time too. I know especially during this stuff here in America with the Black Lives Matter movement, it was hard I didn't want to ask of my friends to explain from their perspective while they were watching all of this unfold and having generations of trauma that was always there, absolutely always there, but really being thrust into the spotlight. It's unfair to then ask them to tell me how I should go through this, and I would never want to presume that with anything else too. And so that's why with these things where we can look to people as they're sharing their stories, as they have kind of the emotional labor and the ability to share, that's when we need to listen. It's no one thing is too big or too small to share. Going back to that survival guide thing where some days we're just trying to make the next best choice. And if you know that there's somebody out there that's, floating for a second, and you're like, you know what, they remind me that I know how to swim, then we survive another day. And, I definitely think of times where I've heard, my peers or the people that I look up to, other streamers, other YouTubers, kind of this new category. I don't want to use the word celebrity because that's not quite the right word, but the people that have this influence and that are using their platform for good, when you see them open up about, burnout and mental health struggles and these things that you don't think about, it makes me remember, not that you can never forget, but it makes me remember that we all are human and we all have things to carry at the end of the day. And I think that's so important, and I love seeing that cultural shift again of having people talk about just, no thing is too big or too small, because, we don't want to have others repeat it. I feel very, very strongly, like I said, always have as an educator, but especially now as a mom, I don't want to see anybody go through this stuff again. Some pain is inevitable. It is hard, beautiful, frustrating, maddening to be a human, and you can't protect somebody from everything, and that's hard. But if I can, change a little bit of the zeitgeist, or I can talk to people, it prevents the same suffering. One of my big mottos is, I will make mistakes, but I refuse to make the same mistakes that my parents or my grandparents have made, because we should have learned. I will never be perfect, but at least if I'm not making the same mistakes, then it means that all of their learning and their suffering was for something, and then I can go and make new mistakes so that we can learn from them. Because if we just make the same mistakes over and over again, we're not going to change anything, and then we just hurt, and then we create generational trauma that just hurts everybody. And no, I'm going to make mistakes, but I don't want to make the same ones, and I don't want to hurt people in ways that we should be past, you know? So here in chat, yeah, please share, and let me know what parts you'd like me to read out loud, or not, and I would love to have you guys share. It means a lot that you guys trust me, and that, you know, you're trusting in this safe space here, and, you know, when you guys are ready to share, I will always, the platform is yours. So, please take your time, typing. I will, take a breath, take a sip of coffee, and let you have the floor. And that's, I mean, really, just, I think it can be really scary to, I don't want to say admit our labels, but there's something both, in my experience, there was something absolutely, freeing, terrifying, and just relieving about finally having a label. When I was diagnosed with ADHD, I left that behavioral psychologist's office feeling like I had an entire planet of weight on my back. But on the other hand, I never felt lighter, because things finally started to make sense. I knew I had a community. I knew I had never an excuse, but more of a, like, just, it's not all just made up. It's real. It's like, the science says, you know, it, oh, of course, guys, in chat, thanks so much for all the energy you're putting into this. Of course, like I said, this is just as much for me as it is for you, and just as much for you as it is for me. You know, there's something about art that is so cathartic. I mean, I could joke that you can't have the word cathartic without the word art. And I'm so sorry that somebody messed with your head for 3 years is a long time. 3 days would be a long time. 3 years is a lot. And I hope that you are in a much better situation. And if you're not yet, I wish you the absolute quickest speed. But if you are, I'm so relieved for you already. And I hope that you continue to be in better and better places. In chat, I was diagnosed with many learning disabilities, and my mom always said, it's not an excuse, it's a reason. I love that. I think that's something that's kind of ingrained, is to just shirk things off, like, as an excuse. And it's like, no, if I'm explaining myself, if I'm standing up for my boundaries, if I'm standing up for how things work, it's a reason. It's not an excuse. I really, really love that. In chat, I have a wonderful therapist, family, and girlfriend, and I am so proud of you. Good. You deserve that and more. And I hope the world continues to smile on you. And I know that it's been a couple years, and in some ways it will always be crazy. I think just globally we're finally experiencing it all on this insane level, but, you know, there's still so much good among the bad, and it's a lot, but I'm glad that there are good things going on. I really, really am. I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy for you. And this is the thing about the global connectivity. Like, I am absolutely just over the moon for people I'm meeting for the first time, because you guys are out there living truths and being good humans and working towards good things, and, like, look where we are. This is, I will never stop being excited about that connectivity with this. There's so much cute going on in chat. I love you guys. Yeah, it's just, you know, we're changing the zeitgeist. So to share a little story, because, you know, we're kind of talking about how this is all shifting and changing, and, you know, if you can kind of change one person's mind, or one little part of the zeitgeist, or, you know, just have one person look at things differently, like, that's kind of how we kind of crack open to this shell. And, like, so, I remember going to a coming out day thing at the local college, and we were talking, and even though I was a little fresher on the coming out side, I was still one of the elders, because you know, this was mostly college students, but we were all kind of sharing our coming out stories, and mine was because there was a bully, and I've had no shortage of bullies in my life. I'm so happy with what's going on in chat. Everyone's so sweet. I've had no shortage of bullies in my life. One, I was always the new kid. We moved around a lot. I'd shared that I was a military brat. But, then anytime you're the outsider, you're easy target. And then, I was the gifted kid, so then I was always either too smart for my own good, or people didn't know what to do with me. It was hard to make friends. And of course, now looking back, it's like, well, yeah, I was, oh my goodness, like I thought I was a weirdo back then, and it was like, if I only knew. But who knows? Like I said before, I can't live with regrets, and I can't live with the what ifs, because I am here now. I'm alive. I can't change anything in the past. And honestly, who knows what would happen if I changed anything in the past, and I wouldn't want to jeopardize what I have now. And I've still got growing to do, and I can't change it. But, if I had known back then, who knows? So like, I'm not a stranger to being bullied. It's something that happens. But, when I became a mom, the first time my kid got bullied, it was like, no, and when I say this, of course, like my parents did a really great job, and I'm not saying like they didn't change things or protect me. They absolutely did. This is, of course, with the skewed perspective of, being the bullied child and then becoming the bullied, or becoming the adult who's then watching their kid being bullied. And so in this is my story, and not a reflection on anyone else's parenting or anything. My parents did a great job. But like when I saw my kid be bullied for the first time, we were volunteering on a ranch, another ranch up in the mountains who did rescue horses. And I was really lucky to be connected to them. That horses are one of the things that we don't have here at our little land. We do goats and chickens, and I want to do ducks. But horses are expensive. And, what little kid doesn't like ponies? And so there was this rescue ranch that we were connected to through like one of the moms clubs. And they rescued horses and rehabilitated ponies. And, so I wanted me and my kiddo to go up there, and like it was cool because they let the moms club ride all the ponies, and it's like, okay, well, I want to give back. Let's muck some stalls. And I really wanted to give my kid that kind of like good, honest, hard day's work type dealio, because that's something that, I realized too. Didn't realize the reasoning at the time, but physical labor was always something that helped my ADHD. Of course, now looking back with a perspective, it's that heavy lifting that helps with like all the different schemas of play, and just kind of that settling of the brain. And so I knew that good, like hard lifting was something that helped my brain, and so I wanted to see kind of as an experiment if it would help my kiddo. And so we were, shoveling horse manure and moving hay. And then, of course, at the end of the day, we'd get to ride the ponies. So it was like, cool, she's still having a childhood. It's just, we're doing experiments, and then also, putting in good community work. But we were riding one time with some strangers, and my kid was talking about how she was a cowboy. And a grown man told her, you can't be a cowboy, you're a girl. And of course, my, 4-year-old at the time had no understanding or implication. Like, not to dismiss her. That was the term she preferred. She doesn't have the background of society's gender implications. She doesn't have the weight of all of the sexism. But, she understood that there were two terms, and she preferred one. Like, even just semantically, how dare you correct my child? Like ignoring all the, like the weight that carries. Like, did you really have to correct a 4-year-old? They weren't saying anything inappropriate. They found a term that applied to them, and they used it freely without, and you had to come in and judge them. And obviously, like, that cracked open something huge in me, being very, very closeted. And didn't realize that was kind of the spark to like light the tinder that had been sitting there for decades, but once that was a light, like, whoa, it's gonna burn. But it was also just like what a ridiculous fight to pick. Like if a kid says that they're a princess, you let them be a princess. If they're a dragon, if they want to be a snail, if they want to be a flirt, let them be whatever they want to be. Like, how ridiculous. But, like driving home in the car that day, just talking to her, telling her she can be whatever she wanted to be, it was like, oh no. Oh no, I'm trying to teach you can be who you want to be and use the labels you want, and I'm sitting here in the closet, and now I have to go live a truth because I can't let you down by doing the same thing, but just internalized. And so, like, that was so, like, bizarre, and like I said, really was just all of a sudden there was this crack in the facade, and the fire was burning behind, and I realized that I had to start living my labels and my truth, just because how dare that man correct her? And not even correct her, he wasn't correct. But, of course, in his mind he thought, but how dare he try to put a label on her? And she was playing cowboy on a ranch, on a literal horse. She didn't want to be a cowgirl. She didn't like the way that felt. The word, whether there was a word, whether there was weight behind it. But, it starts so early. And so I didn't want to be another facet in that. And so that's, how I ended up coming out, was because I didn't want to be just another person hiding behind safe masks or labels, or I could have just laughed it off, or I could have just been like, oh, okay, let her be. No longer. But, the energy and the just, it took so much, and I didn't realize how much had been hidden behind until that was just thrust into the open. And, it's a lot, but, we got to change these things. And I wouldn't have stood up to the bully for myself, but for her, I'd burn it down. And that's what we have to do. Going back to chat, there was a young boy whose mom posted on TikTok looking for farmers who enjoy makeup because her son's grandfather had told him that farmers don't wear makeup, and the response was so deep and sweet. That's amazing. I'm going to have to look that up. Because that's the thing. We make these very often sexist stereotypes and generalizations and say that, boys don't do this, farmers don't do that, cowboys don't do this, artists don't do that. Who's to say? In fact, the more that we kind of start to separate these professions from personalities, the better, because there shouldn't be one personality type in any one field anyway. But, that mama was filled with the same fire you're spitting. If standing up for yourself burns some bridges, I have matches we ride at dawn. I love you guys. Oh, exactly. Because that's the thing. It wouldn't have been easy because it would have hurt my heart. But in the moment, it would have been easy to just ignore it. To just go and, say, oh, it's just another guy saying nonsense, and to, duck your head. But no, it's time to spit fire. It's time to not let this stand. And yes, it's hard to fight every fight, but on the other hand, like, I don't know, man, if I am gonna get caught in the blaze and I'm gonna burn, I'm gonna do it for something I believe in, because I've spent so much time and energy on other things, or pretending not to be things, that it's like, I'd rather take that energy and change the world than, use it to just, I don't know, feel like garbage, and I don't want other people hurting. And you don't realize how much you hurt and have hurt until you kind of, experience the hurt through somebody else's eyes as well. And it's like, I went through that same stuff. It just, you get used to it, I guess. But, I wasn't going to let somebody squash her that early. Not over some dumb comment that guy probably will never remember had I not spat fire back. But it was just something dumb, but it wasn't to us. It wasn't to her. It wasn't, to so many people. And I hope that, just like finding the communities where it's like, no, you have these ideas in your head that aren't true. This is how we are. We're not all the same. I can't wait to check out the thing you're mentioning on TikTok, because that is absolutely amazing. And so, yes, I have matches we ride at dawn. There you go. While I'm mildly distracted for a second, I do have music and stuff playing. Don't cross a mom, that's right. I mean, really, parents of any gender, any label, like, whew, that has given me a fight I did not know that I could have. And that's a strength that I am so it's another thing to carry, kind of that protective sword. But on the other hand, like if I'm already going to be carrying the weight of my baggage and the weight of my trauma, I'm happy to kind of pick up the weight of a sword and a shield and fight instead, because I'm used to carrying that weight. It's let's make it productive. That little boy had on John Deere green eyeshadow within a week. I love it. I love it. Oh, that makes my heart so happy. But also, what a color scheme. Like, just aesthetically, absolute yes. Tractor green eyeshadow. Oh, I love it. And I love seeing too the shift in some of these organizations too. I am a lifetime Girl Scout, bronze, silver, gold award. But I did 4-H for just a hot minute in high school. But my kiddo, she really wants to be in 4-H, and there was a part of me that was that was a little bit worried about, like, the area that we're in is a little bit on the conservative side, and then there is the kind of just stereotype that farmer and agriculture stuff tends to lean a little bit conservative, and I like big picture politically. There's things I agree with on all sides of the spectrum. My main thing is not to hurt anybody or to strip fundamental rights from anybody, but I understand when people want to fight for, certain industries or certain things that are more near and dear to their heart. I believe that kind of politics is important. Stripping fundamental rights is absolute not. But yeah, protecting, different things. I understand where that can get divided politically, and that's the kind of politics that is acceptable. But I was a little bit worried. Hey, more scouts! Woo! And it's interesting too, because like you've been in the Girl Scouts, there's been a lot of change as far as like LGBTQIA leaders, being allowed and that kind of stuff. And I'm so excited to see progress. And that kind of leads into this next part. I was a little bit worried about where I might find 4-H, but I have been blown away with how accepting 4-H has been. And even in their like marketing, they're going for like mental health is one of their core pillars. I mean, like, if you're unfamiliar with 4-H, it's a kind of a scouting type organization that's like farm based, but the 4-H's are head, heart, hands, and health. And it's just as much about like the science of taking care of yourself and ag science as it is about like the health of the community. But it's been amazing to see how much they're really pushing that into like social justice issues. And I couldn't be more excited or more proud about having a little Clover Bud in the organization, and really seeing how much these organizations are getting, without like using just a kind of trite political label, but how much more liberal they're getting as far as being accepting of mental health and really just pushing it and championing it. And I'm thrilled that, like my little sprout's going to get to go into an organization that teaches just as much about sustainability and like eco-friendliness as it does like mental health and just mindfulness. Like I'm thrilled. It's like, oh, I want to be in these clubs and stuff again. I'm definitely going to let her have her thing, and if I need to be involved, I do, and if I don't, I don't. But sometimes it's just like you want to be a kid again with the kind of zeitgeist shift, and it's like that'd be really fun to do these things and be who I am now, and be able to just be a kid again. So I'm excited for her, and it just means I'll just need to go camping and eat some s'mores and celebrate people realizing that mental health is important and we can fight for fundamental rights. And I will toast a s'more over a campfire to that. Toast. Oh yeah, so that's another thing too. In addition to being a lifetime member and Gold Award, I come from a long line of strong, pretty badass women. My mom and my grandma are lifetime members and Gold Award. Okay, well, this is the best Girl Scout troop meeting I have ever attended. I love that. Let's I wish I had some Thin Mints in the freezer to crack open in celebration. I would have loved a troop like y'all. I love a troop like y'all. Let's do it. But yeah, it is amazing to being able to connect to people that get it in so many ways. You guys are amazing. So I keep getting super excited and like trying not to stab myself with this needle, but I don't even care. It's worth it. We just need to pick a number. It's like, and of course, like sewing artist brain is like, let's make patches. And I've actually seen a couple people make like charity stream, like virtual kind of scout patches. Like, you know, if I think that might be something we discuss in the Discord. Let's make some charity stream patches or something, guys. Like, let's do it. Let's you know, there's absolutely no age limit on being a good person, being curious, being creative, exploring, and being a scout. Looking forward to seeing your art student cowboy scout uniform come January. Heck yes. Oh, we are gonna be outfitted. We are gonna be a force to be reckoned with, and we are gonna look good doing it. That's what's gonna happen. Oh. Oh, you guys. Oh, I have to say, you guys have been an incredible chat group today. I am beyond honored to have incredible people like you guys sharing your stories, and really just being accepting, amazing human beings, and doing really good things out in the world. Like, it is. Oh, it is. This is the stuff that, like, yes, it's cool to do this, the art and everything, but, you know, really it's that human element that you guys are absolutely bringing, and I am beyond honored to have you guys here. My heart is absolutely just ginormous. This is Sewing Circle vibes. Yes. Yes. I love you guys too. I really do. I just, you know, Girl Scout troop vibes. Yeah, I love this. This is, you know, especially all the, like, times I felt, and I am sure you guys can empathize, but, like, just all the times that you, like, you know, young and masking and questioning and wondering, like, will you ever be able to, you know, hang that mask at the door and just find people? And, like, you hope, but, like, I don't know. I can never promise it'll be easy, but I can promise that it does get better, and that you, like, when you make these genuine connections like this, like, it's worth it. It's worth being alive for this. You know, no, it doesn't change the struggle. It doesn't change the weight of it all. It doesn't magically make everything snap into place, but it makes it worth, you know, fighting for. In chat, Girl Scouts are accepting all genders now, and Gem and ours absolutely is. They were called adventures in our day, but, like, join our troop and we won't label you oddly. Those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind. Absolutely. I know that's the hard part I struggle with, like, even just on the surface, the whole Girl Scouts thing and Boy Scouts thing. I do wish that there was more of a unification or a just gender neutral term. I love adventurers, and I know there have been the adventure scouts. It's hard in smaller towns to do that. I think that's another thing that, like, with an organization, say like 4-H, where it just, the organization has a name versus it being divided. Like, you know, Juliet Gordon-Lowe did some amazing freaking things, and I'm not, you know, taking away the boundaries that, you know, people had to push to even get the girls the ability to have scouts. Like, that's the thing, you can't forget that history. But yeah, absolutely, just scouts. We're just scouts. We are scouts. Yeah. And that's, you know, that's partially too why, like, you know, being kind of more on the just casually female presenting side, or using she pronouns. It's like, I don't want to forget all the struggles that I went through being like, that were because of gender. And we talked about gender presentation and stuff kind of at the beginning, but like I don't want to ignore the struggle and the history and the bullying I got for being a girl. And like this is also a very, very, very personal decision. I understand that there are a million ways to not only process trauma, but to present, and it might be cathartic to do the absolute opposite of what I'm doing. But there's part of me that like doesn't want to lose the ability to like side with the girls. Just like my own thing is my own thing. But yeah, there were definitely times in my life where the worst thing I could be was a girl to people, and I hated that. And so like, kind of keeping the she pronouns and keeping the like mom label and that kind of stuff is kind of just a little bit of a like reclaiming of all of that. In the chat, oh, that's my mom. I was an Explorer Scout and co-ed through the Boy Scouts. Yeah, my mom is pretty freaking British. And she fought for a lot of opportunities for me in Scouts. Unfortunately, the areas we were in weren't always as accepting and progressive, unfortunately. But, trying to change that. And so that's what I said. Yes, Quilting Koala is my mom. She is mi madre. That is my mom. Yes, shout out to Quilting Koala. Hi, Mama. Yes, a lot of times I will refer to her as Oma because that's what my daughter calls her. My parents are now Oma and Opa, as kind of an honoring to the Germanic heritage on my mom's side and just kind of family traditions. So most of the time I'll call her Oma just because I'm used to trying not to confuse my kiddo. But yes, that's my mom. So, and I know that's something that I'm really privileged. It's one of those things too where like I had to do my own figuring out and explaining and then could come back. But I'm very, very lucky and honored and, happy to put in the work to, have parents that are accepting. And, like I never thought, oh, it's a Dutch word as well, that, like I'd be in the position where I can talk so openly about like things like identity, like with my mom, like literally on stream. Like this is really cool for me, and I hope that by extension you guys can see someone from a different generation and stuff as well, but also like you guys now have a bonus Oma. So that's what happens when you get on the art bus. You become a part of our scout troop and you get a accepting family here. So oh, sweet grandma. So that's the thing, it's like for all the craziness in my past and everything, if I had the ability to time travel, I wouldn't change it because I wouldn't want to jeopardize everything I've worked for now, like having my parents be understanding and supportive, and they're helping me raise my kid, and like it's amazing. And like I said, being a human just inherently is hard and messy and difficult, but it's definitely, there are parts that are worth fighting for and staying alive for, and these are parts of it. Let's see, in chat. In chat, I'm working on a PhD in public health, policy management, and one of my cohort members does research about Black birthing people, and I just love that. I also follow some transgender people who have given birth who are men and use mama and mom. That's incredible. That is, oh my gosh, I could talk forever about birthing experience, but just even with the kind of privilege, and absolutely you are doing amazing work, and I am so proud. Even being like in America and being white and passing in the medical as, cis het, there's so much like birth discrimination and trauma, even when you fit the mold. I can't say I can't imagine, because unfortunately I vivid imagination and then past trauma, but I don't want to imagine. But I know that the discrimination that, that anyone that falls outside of that, by race or sex or orientation, it's insane, the discrimination and the trauma involved, in birthing. And that's something that we really, like, it is 2021. There shouldn't still be this much pain around bringing humans into the world. And I have a lot of birth trauma, that I'm working with my therapist on. And it's one of those things where still 5 years after, there's still a lot. And my experience was medical, not based on like my presentation or anything. I can't even imagine the extra baggage if, that there was, misgendering and racism and stuff on top of that. Like, that is too much. We already are so cruel mental health wise to new moms or new parents, new, life givers in general, that you don't need any more of that on top of all of this. So no, to the people that are out there fighting for just people to be safe when they're, bringing new life in, that's, it's incredible. And it's still one of those where it's still hard that it's hard to me that that's like necessary, that we have to fight for that, and it's not just a given. But that's why I'm so grateful, to people like you who are out there doing things that are changing the way that we see every bit of mental health and accessibility, and just protecting humans who are just trying to be humans. Like, that is the thing. We're just out here trying to be people, not looking for more reasons to be hurt. So yeah, Erin, absolutely, like, absolute mad respect. And a PhD, that is a lot. Like, I mean, school has always been one of those things where, like, I love school, and I dreamt of getting a master's, before some craziness hit the fan. But so, like, just like from one, like, nerd to another, like a PhD, that's incredible. That's absolutely incredible. So yeah, and then to, the subject that you're doing it in, where you're not only going for, like, academics to better your mind, but you're going for academics to better the world. You're going for academics that are bettering the world. In chat here, positive birth outcomes are strongly correlated with education level. Women with graduate degrees have far better outcomes than women with high school education. But get this, black women in the U.S. with PhDs have equivalent birthing outcomes to white women with high school diplomas. And I absolutely, unfortunately, believe that. And that's so ridiculous. Like, why are they suffering more? And why, like, when I was having my daughter and I made the decision to breastfeed, very quickly it became so apparent just the kind of divide and the dichotomy between, like, the support that white women got breastfeeding versus the absolute zero support that black women got when they were breastfeeding. And we're doing the same thing, and just, there's so much stigma and judgment, for every aspect of parenting. And it absolutely shouldn't come down to, skin color and race. And I'm mad about it all. And, I am mad about it all. And racism is, here in the chat, racism is alive and well, and over here in case anyone's wondering. And that's frustrating, to see that it is a worldwide issue still. And I know, again, like, I'm speaking with an American, perspective here, but it's frustrating and maddening. And then we wonder, like, we get into these generational things where we keep making the same trauma because we keep treating, different people differently, and then they can't escape it. And then that's how these systems get worse. And I bumped my cuticle there. But it's unfair, especially to just these innocent children, but then to these moms who are going through so much. And, gosh forbid they have, PPA or PPD where they're struggling with anything. And you've already got the judgment of, racism and sexism and everything on top. Like, it's a lot. I know here in America, we are still so backwards when it comes to mental health that you can't ask for help. if you are suffering because you're afraid of Child Protective Services getting called, because people think that they're doing a favor when really just a qualified mental health professional checking in would be a long way. We think we can fix everything with a casserole and oh, I got through this, and it's not how that works. Here in chat, I am incredibly lucky that my learning disabilities were diagnosed early, and my mom is a child life specialist and special education specialist. Wow. My parents put in a lot of work and resources to make sure I could succeed in school, and did a great job teaching me to advocate myself. That is incredible. And, I'm really happy that you're taking that and doing good things. And so getting to the PhD, I'm in the 12th grade, is absolutely a result of exceptional circumstances of privilege. But you're using that. And that's the thing. Recognizing privilege is huge. That's something I've definitely been trying to do for myself and then my social circle, because it's we don't have to stop just because we have privilege. It's not like that's going to equal the playing field. It's more we need to use that privilege to call out the other stuff, to break down the other walls, to make it better for other people, and then to seek the education or to seek the change that we need to. But yeah, absolutely in chat, but also hard work, and do not forget that or feel bad. No, you absolutely worked your butt off. No, so, that's the thing. All the privilege in the world can't give you empathy. All the privilege in the world can't give you that drive. So that is you. And you're using what you can to help the world. There is no shame in that. But, it's important to recognize it, of course. But no, you are, yeah, okay, in chat, I don't feel bad, but I know that others don't have the tools I have, and it makes me livid. Yeah, no, big mood, big mood. Yeah, no, and that's the thing. Taking it away or changing it, or it wouldn't. That was not how to make the change. The change is, yeah, absolutely to fight for everyone else to have it. So that's why you guys are good people. It's and again too, absolutely celebrating not only just that you can get the education, but that you worked so hard to be educated, and then you're taking that and going and doing things for other people. That's incredibly selfless. And like I said, I'm going to say a million times, I'm really, really, really proud of you. So, good people doing good things and using what they have. That's one of the things too is I think going back to, haves and privileges and things too, I think in a lot of ways it has been a privilege to it absolutely has been a privilege to have mental health care and to be diagnosed. And almost lost my train of thought there. But, to have that, ability to be labeled when so many other people didn't, and to have these things, it then, yes, like you said, it's, I wouldn't be better off not having that, because it doesn't make the playing field equal. But if I can get that label and I can get those tools, that was my train of thought, I can use my privilege to then get other people to get the tools in their tool belt. And that's how we grow together, is by building something. And I know that was a little rambly, I apologize for that. But yeah, no, just me not using privilege to not get diagnosed, to not advocate for my daughter, doesn't change anything other than we just exist and pretend nothing changed or nothing's different. And then that doesn't change it for other people. That doesn't, a lot of times, one of the things I really learned, I worked for a emergency resource center. So kind of like a food pantry that also handed out emergency hotel vouchers for people who immediately needed assistance. We definitely found out very quickly that if people didn't ask for our services, our funding got cut so quickly. And there were so many people that didn't want to ask because maybe they didn't need it as much as someone else. But I'm like, you need to ask so that we have it, so then we can help you, and then we can help the next person. And that's such a shift in thinking, that people are like, no, I'll save it. But then our funding keeps getting cut. So yeah, by using what we can and seeking out mental health, it then, says, hey, there's a need for this. And then the numbers grow and we can help more people. back in chat, but this goes back to the quote, if they think you're too much, they can go find less. Yeah, absolutely. I have been told by so many people that I need to focus to succeed, and firmly and disrespectfully, no. Being interested in art and science has made me better, not worse. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think that's definitely one of the things that's going to stick with me for a while is the, if they think you're too much, they can go find less, because, yeah, it's not always easy to be a handful, but on the other hand, like, I'm finally free to be a handful. So yeah, none of us are less, or none of us would be better if we, compartmentalized or hid or picked fewer things. We would just be, sad and unhappy and not the brightest, like, not the shiniest versions of ourselves. And sure, it's a lot, but like you said, if we're too much, then they can go find less. So, and I'm glad, to see people interested in kind of these things that we call, like, there's such a separation, especially here in America, between like the sciences and then the art. And that's why we kind of had this like STEAM and STEM thing that came back, because we tried to bring art back into it. And it's like, yeah, you fools, art was supposed to be there all along. It's the bridge between the subjects. It's, like, you don't get better by only reading in your genre. You gotta experience the world from so many other ways to see things. Otherwise, you're just gonna, have tunnel vision or echo chambers. So yeah, no, being cross-disciplinary and seeing things from different perspectives is like crucial. It shouldn't be a bonus. It should be, it should be standard. And so I love to see people that recognize that. Absolutely, being interested in both has made you better, not worse. Absolutely. Plus, it just makes for more interesting conversation. I mean, like, that's the thing. We started this off with, like, I don't want to talk about small talk. I want to talk about buttons. We want to talk about, the amazing things that people can do on this rock floating in outer space. The things that we can make, the sciences, the life, the discoveries. It's all part of being human. It doesn't need to be so neatly compartmentalized to where it's, sterile. Humans are messy in the best ways, and some of the worst ways. Where, for every praise on humanity, there's stuff we could work on, absolutely. But I don't think trying to compartmentalize people is the way to do it. That's for sure. From chat, yeah, I don't need 5 quote on brand Etsy shops. I need one messy life. Yes, same. Absolutely. 100%. 100%. Yeah, done trying to try on different personalities to make myself palatable. Yeah, you don't get 5 structured versions of me. You get me now. So I'm glad you guys are doing that too, because it's exhausting too. Like, it goes back to the whole masking thing. It's like, how many different ways do I have to make myself palatable to you instead of just, like you being the world? It's take me as this, especially, in this field. It's like, if I can't be a little wacky and a little bit messy and a little bit all over the place, then as an artist, if I can't be that here, then where can I be? And so that's where it gets scary when people expect the neat compartmentalization. So let's reclaim the hot mess. So I am 2/3 of the way down this one seam. What's cool about this back with the dinosaurs is I'm going to spread it out. I don't think you guys have seen the whole back. But it's this kind of microskeleton doodle fabric up here, this panel, and then what I like to call the Miss Frizzle fabric, because I worked at a museum for a good number of years, and we didn't have a super strict uniform other than a shirt, and I wanted to live my best Miss Frizzle life, and so I had a lot of fabric that I had purchased to make skirts, so when we had different exhibits, revolve in and revolve out, I could shift that up. Then I discovered that I don't really like wearing cotton as skirts, and then the whole gender thing, I was trying to figure it out, and obviously this wouldn't be good fabric for trousers. But anyway, that aside, the intention was to live my best Miss Frizzle life. So it's really exciting for me to see this fabric go for something fun, like inspiring a new human to enjoy dinosaurs. But it's really fun. It would have made a really cool skirt. But now it makes a really cool quilt, so. In chat, hot mess, go find Les, and let's talk about buttons. Girl Scout patches coming to a charity stream near you. Yes. Yes. Oh, I love dinosaurs too. Like, nobody asks what your favorite dinosaur is when you're an adult. I think that's why hanging out with kids is just fun, and obviously like-minded adults, but like, you don't walk into like a board meeting and nobody asks you what your third favorite dinosaur is, and that's a shame. Absolute shame. Which, shout out your favorite, right, rude, really, exactly, rude. I want to know what your guys' favorite dinosaurs are. Yes, I love Ankylosauruses, Plesiosaurs, and Velociraptors. The more feathers on the Velociraptors, the better. Although the Jurassic Park ones, obviously, the movie nerd in me, like, I'm cool with them, but yeah, no. Shout out your favorite dinosaurs. Because it is a crying. I mean, even like favorite animals. Like, no adult asks you like what your favorite animal is. I want to talk about things. So I did mention that I grew up in Scotland. I use the term grew up kind of liberally just because we did move a lot, but that was kind of a big chunk of my childhood. So my mom says Nessie being her favorite dinosaur, and kind of as a throwback to being there in Scotland. Yeah, Nessie rules. So pretty sure Nessie was a plesiosaur, so I think we on the same wavelength there. All right, so yes, in chat, Little Sprout does like the swimming one. She also likes plesiosaurs, so this, there's something cool. Yes, apparently I'm 13. There's something cool about swimming dinosaurs. All of the, actually, that reminds me. Let me find it on the quilt. There is, we got a self-send Nessie. We got the cool, like, wow, I just totally spaced, but the really neat kind of nautilus, squiddy snail guys. Very, very top-notch scientific here. We're very sure to include all sorts of neat, both current and past swimmy guys. Yeah, there's lots of good plesiosaurs. Thank you in chat. This quilt is everything but a lucky kiddo. I really hope they like it. The parent was somebody that I grew up with a long time ago, also a military brat, and we haven't had the chance to like really reconnect. But my mom kept in contact because, moms are good at that stuff, and I was nary a child. So when she had her kiddo, we were sure to make something. But yeah, they're very, very fresh new humans, so it'll be a while before we really know what they're into, but figured animals and fish and dinosaurs and swimming dinosaurs, you can't really go wrong, so. Plus, there's just, I don't know, there's something cool about baby quilts, and quilts in general. I mean, like, to make a quilt for someone is such, like, not to just, like, use cliches, but it is such a labor of love. Like, it's a lot of steps, and, like, even if I was, like, quick and efficient, which I'm not, I don't think those have ever been words to describe me, it's a lot of steps. There's a lot of different techniques and stuff that goes into this. And, like, I don't know the person, I mean, I do. I know of the person that, like, made me a baby quilt, but, like, that quilt's been with me for 30 years, and it's like still on my bed. And even if I like don't know the person, because of course that was like my mom's friend and I was a squish, it's still like to know that there was someone out there that like cared enough about like my mom to then make her offspring a quilt. Like that's cool. I like when I look at that quilt, I not only think that like someone loved me, but like someone loved my mom. And like right from the beginning, there was support, and that's really cool, and we made a Little Sprout a quilt and it's on the bed too. But you know, sometimes I look at it and it's like I don't remember a whole lot of those early days, just because new motherhood, new parenthood, new humanhood. It's a lot, but you know, we finished that quilt right as my daughter arrived, and I'm so glad we did, because I have a terrible track record of not finishing things. But I am so happy because like that was there from the beginning, and it's like, you know, my baby was loved, and here's like tangible proof. And also just there was always something, you know, like they are very, very tangible symbols of like of love. You know, it's not the only way you can show love, but for me and for my family, and just it's comforting. It's, you know, not just that kind of innate comfort that comes with a blanket. Like, I think that's something universally human, having a comfort object. But then, like, when it's handmade and, you know, especially if you had a hand in making it, it's like levels. Ooh, in chat, one of my childhood friends just had their first, and they did a Star Wars themed nursery. Geeking. So I made I Love You and I Know embroidered pillows for the nursery. Oh my goodness. He just turned 1 and made him an episode 1 inspired movie post that summarizes his first year on the planet in the classic yellow scrolling opening text. Oh my goodness. Oh, I love Star Wars. That is super cool. Not only just like, you know, obviously I latched onto the Star Wars, I'm geeking, but just so personalized and so importantly like so supportive, and so I love that. I love that so much. Which, all to say, we can influence others in the right direction. That is amazing. Oh, that's so clever, too. Oh, that's so clever. Nerdy stuff is awesome. Handmade stuff is awesome. That is so sweet with the opening crawl text. That's mad props to you. That is very clever. Oh. Alright, I'm just about to run out of thread here, so I'm going to tie myself a knot, and I am also, pardon me, going to check in on the little sprout, so give me 2 seconds. Also, don't forget to hydrate, you guys, because if you're anything like me, you'll forget to drink water. Checking in on the little sprout. Alright, everything's looking good. Alright, so yeah, everyone take a nice stretch break and take a drink of something, preferably water. I'm gonna have to grab a water here in a second, but you know, I am juggling this whole crazy thing called art and parenthood, so occasionally I will have to check just on my little bean. So thank you guys for being so endlessly supportive there. But it's all good. Okay. Alright, I'm gonna come back to chat too. I'm both like absolutely amazed and like, because yes, we do need a new guardian to teach peace and justice despite unrest in the galaxy. Yeah, we'll get there though. That's the thing. You know, you can't go back and fix it, so we can only change it in the now. We've only got today, no day but today, and all that. So yes, I'm very, very optimistic and hopeful for, you know, people to make changes. I think we're getting there. But there are definite bright spots in the universe. Okay. Okay, what thread was I using? I had a really good run on that piece of thread. I almost forgot what color I was using because I was able to sew for so long on that one piece. There we go. Oh yeah, so in chat, my mom says I've been piecing some quilt blocks as we've been chatting. If I assume correctly, she's been working on her little Christmas block exchange with her sewing circle, which is honestly like hashtag goals. I don't have a sewing circle, which I guess now I do. We've got our scout group right here, so I can't say that anymore. I have a sewing circle, but they do little round robins and block exchanges, and it's cool. Like, yes, we do. We are here. You're right. I misspoke. I absolutely do, and oh, obviously that is just so new and unreal. Oh, yes, you are. You are here. I'm really gonna. I think that's something we should, for serious. Like my brain can get very excited and hypothesize on a lot of things and hypothetical words. But no, I would really love to do some badges for a charity stream. I think that would be really fun. And you know, that's something too. Like obviously, like I do have a Discord. I'm gonna have to. I don't have that set up. Getting there. I'm very much in the fake it to make it stage where I kind of look like I know what I'm doing on Twitch. But I just set up the Discord last night, and I haven't told my mod team or my Discord or my Twitch bot. But I'm glad to see you are speaking the lingo, because there's a lot. There's an impressive learning curve that's so different from like YouTube and stuff that comes with Twitch, like the lingo, the bot commands. I love it, and I love a good challenge. But yeah, diving in, you're like, oh boy, this is a lot. Because normally I would just watch other streamers like that friends recommended, and like they spoke all the lingo and they handled all the like chat. So like I didn't even have the experience as like a viewer before I went in as a creator. So, you know, but backwards is how I do. So. Cool. Okay, so you've been streaming for 2 months. I will check out your channel when I have full access of commands. Sweet. Yes, please. Drop your things. And also in chat, what's the quality you admire most in your mom? Oh, I'm going to make her cry. My mom has never let anyone break her, and she's stayed soft in the good ways despite all the hard pressure. You know, there's all the metaphors about like what the water does to the egg. It does, you know, softens the potato, it hardens the egg. She's never let herself get hardened off by the pressure and the weight and the kind of violence of the world. She stayed soft, and it's a good thing. I'm learning too that like softness does not denote weakness, and there's actually a strength in being soft despite, you know, wanting to just harden yourself off. And you know, I think one of the expressions I really like is do no harm but take no shit, because yeah, I don't have to be hardened off and hard to survive in this world anymore. And I definitely, you know, you go through, yes, gentle power and grace. That's exactly. It is an art form. It absolutely is. It's hard and exhausting, and sometimes it would be easier to just be calloused and cruel, but that's not how I want to be. And so, yeah, being raised by someone who is strong yet soft is important. You know, and I find that's a character trait I love in real life. Also, in, you know, just brains bringing to fiction and stuff too. There is something about being strong underneath, you know, steel under velvet, and just being strong underneath and not having to project that as your outward thing, because it's also hard to just be calloused and cruel, and it's exhausting. I want to still put the love into, you know, things like dandelions and butterflies and the soft things, a spring chick, and like just see the beauty of the world and not be so calloused off by it. And once you start getting closed off, it's hard to appreciate those things. And I find too, the more closed off you are, the more that just your world gets darker. And so to kind of fight to keep the light in yourself and then to be able to project that it takes so much strength. But it's worth fighting for. Well, thank you. I mean, everything that you guys have been saying in the chat has been just like absolutely making me either like rethink things in the best ways or seeing like-minded individuals. I also have a great deal of respect for you guys, and this is amazing. This is so beyond wildest dreams of being able to connect with people that not only get it but are out there like really trying to make the world a better place. Like, you know, strong but gentle, peacekeepers, but that aren't afraid to burn when we need to. Like it's a balance. It's an art form, but to meet other artists, both in that respect and in the art respect, is incredible. And something I definitely dreamed of, but hoped to find, and so to be finding it is important. From chat, my mom's family is Midwestern, and I'm fourth gen Polish immigrant on her side, and I get those vibes from my mom and grandmother. Yeah, definitely. Even just from an outsider's perspective of like kind of the things that are projected of women from Poland and everything, definitely strong women vibes there. That's incredible. That's really cool from your family. Like gender aside, I think just kind of that historical, the women that were strong despite everything, like that men didn't want them to be, or the strength of the strength of the hearth and the home, the strength of the menders and the healers. There is a different kind of strength that isn't brute force, that is easy. Soft masculinity is the future. That's the thing. There's so many different ways to be strong, and it isn't brute force all the time. There's a time and a place, and I can be brute force strong if I need to be brute force strong. But I'd rather, be the mender, the healer, the comfort, because there's already so many things that hurt and bring us down. I don't need to contribute more to that in the world. But yeah, no, I'm glad to see the shift, and I think that all comes down to also like the kind of shift in the slow living and the different practices. I think the more connected we are to the planet and to just living a little bit slower, we do tend to be strong in different ways. It isn't about taking with brute force. It's about gardening and protecting. It's about mending and sewing. It isn't like sewing both in the like garden sense and sewing in the mending sense, but it's a different mental picture. It's not just the manifest destiny. It's, yes, there's protecting what you have, but it isn't just about taking. It's about fostering and growing. And so I am happy to see that shift. From chat, I became a vegetarian for the environment mainly. Yeah, no, it's crazy how much just eating meat puts into the planet and takes away from the planet. And yeah, it's, I consider myself flexitarian, where, like I have, it just kind of like with every decision that people make, so as long as it's not out there actively hurting people, we're all trying to make the best choices. But, like I also know a lot of like ranchers and farmers and local meat, and that's very much the industry out where I am. A lot of ranchers. It does take it really takes a huge toll. Yeah. Where, just eating local and everything can make a huge difference. And it is crazy how much energy we waste on some of these things, where we could make not simple, because no choice is simple. It's even with good intentions, choices are hard. But we can make choices that are better. Like I want the planet to be there for the next generation, and I want the planet to be healthy. I don't want to just take what I can get and give nothing back. I mean, it's not how this works. But yeah, there's, lots of different ways to do it. And as long as we're trying to make good choices, I think that's obviously the best. But no, I'm mad respect for doing your choices to save the environment. Like it's very, very important. And oh yeah, BRB, take your time, to do what you need to do and also help the planet. That's very admirable. almost to this corner. So I'm that kind of a hot mess disaster sewing where I'd rather wrestle with like this much thread than cut myself 2 short pieces, because then I'd have to thread the needle twice. But of course, while I'm in it, I'm wondering why I'm sewing to the moon out here. But eventually it'll get to a nice perfect length. So it's funny how like weird personality things come out in something simple like thread length choice, but it amuses me to no end, and I like being around people that understand just kind of the, like, it's not I mean, it's mildly self-deprecating, but also just the humor I'm poking at myself at being that, hot mess person who still makes silly choices, but, fight the good fight and do things that are important, but I still don't necessarily learn to choose a shorter thread. I can't be perfect. I'm doing what my brain thinks it needs to do. So, from chat, may I ask a deep but maybe difficult question? Yeah, go crazy. Please drop it in chat. Obviously, I'll decide if it's something I'm comfortable sharing, but I'm definitely okay with you asking, and I'll do my best to answer it. Okay, so in chat, what's the thing you would like to say to the person that hurt you most? See, immediately I think of a couple different people. It took me a little while longer than, and I'm not disappointed in myself. I was a child. I would tend to get roped into social groups that had very charismatic leaders, and then get used by that person, and then discarded. And it reflected very much on like my self-worth. And then I would then find someone else who burned a little too brightly and get caught in their orbit. But you know what? Kind of thinking on that, I'd say that they didn't take it all from me. No matter how much they hurt me and made me feel like absolute garbage when they discarded me, I still have something worth giving, and they couldn't take it all. They didn't take it all. So they could use and abuse, but you know what? They didn't get the best of me. They didn't drain me. I'm still here. And I'm still going to give. That's the thing. And it's, I like questions like that because it's difficult, but it's also that was really satisfying. I try in a lot of ways not to dwell, because like I said, I don't live with regrets because I can't change these things. But on the other hand, there is something very cathartic about kind of that closure. And what would I say? Although half of them, the people that I was thinking of, I'll never see just because of physical distance. Yeah, I'm strong in spite of you, not because of you. Yeah. This really profound wisdom, I figure out the same. Yeah, that's in it doesn't make the hurt less. And of course, that's something that time and therapy will do. But, and it certainly didn't feel like it some days. Oh, there were definitely some days where, it felt like they had won. But, that says too much about them and not enough about me. And I'm not so little that I can be diminished by one experience or one person, no matter how long of my life that was. Every day that I get up and keep living I'm still here. I have survived some things, and I am still here. So, yeah, but we are still here. That's the thing. No. Yeah, some days were hard to be still here. I can't. That's the thing. Is it's like, yep, I can't say every day will be. I can't say every day will feel like it's worth it in the day, but it does ultimately get better. And I'm very glad I am still here. Started from the bottom. Now we are here. Yep. Absolutely. It is a bop. Yes. Oh, pardon me for 1 second. You guys totally get it. Not only are you amazingly supportive and get it, but thank you for letting me parent and letting me pour my heart out. Okay. All right. One amazing thing about oh yeah, BRB, do what you need to do. One amazing thing about having my whole family be so supportive is I need to pick up my kiddo, but I am able to arrange with my family so that I can keep working and keep like that's the thing. I would never, she is my absolute world. But it's nice to know that I also have a village. That's something I'm not used to having. I'm used to kind of being that martyr, which is probably my worst personality trait. Because it always feels like you're doing it all in the moment and you're doing it for the right reasons, and then you're just like destroying yourself for nothing. So to have a village is something just still getting used to. So yeah, that was just me arranging with my village to pick up my kiddo, my little sprout. So thank you, village. Because yeah, sometimes, honestly, it's okay to ask for help, and it's one of those things that's easy for me to tell that to other people, but like really hard for me to like actually do that in practice. So trying to live through, my own advice and do the things that I would tell other people to do and be okay with other people doing. Like that's that's the thing. Like if my friend needed help, I would drop everything for them, but like why do I don't ask them for help, and then all I'm doing is like robbing them of the chance to do the same kindness that I would do, and that's not okay. And then I become a martyr, and that's not okay. And it's, definitely when you've been hurt, it's a trust thing, but like, now it's like, yeah, I'd do it for them and they would do it for me, and I'm allowed to believe that, Hey, all right. Hey, Skimmed. It's you guys are just bringing in like the coolest people. So I'm really thrilled that y'all know each other, and you guys have this community. I will definitely join your Discord. I am very, very happy about that. It just one of those weird like hills to like have the brain die on, but I was like so afraid of getting on Discord. I have no idea why. But like, now I'm like, okay, it's cool. It's cool. I can do this. So, especially for people like you guys, I'll get on Discord. I don't know why I was afraid of it. It makes sense. It's organized chaos. Everything has a system. Yeah, I don't know. Brains are weird. Brains are super weird. I think there's just that, like, especially when you're your own social media person, your own editor, your own everything. It's like, oh no, another social platform. I don't wanna. But no, the Discord actually is worth it. Discord's worth it. So, oh, I'm glad you guys get the same. It's a lot. Skim says, I'm also resistant to Discord because more platforms, but for these babes, it's worth it. I think that's the mood. Yeah, no, you guys could drag me to any social platform and I would gladly follow. You guys have proved to be some amazing human beings. So, welcome back. Yeah, no, I can empathize. May not be able to understand completely, and it's your story to tell, but I can empathize. So, yeah, that's got to be a lot. Exposure therapy is, yeah, I have a little bit of experience of that with some of my stuff. And so whatever works. And I hope that, yeah, it's not ever too triggering and that you're able to find good boundaries there. Good. Oh, the metaverse. And so I'm seeing some new names in chat. For you guys that have just joined, today's kind of a laundry list day. Kind of fixing up some things and just chatting while I do some things that might not have been worthy of their own stream. Of course, the company that has been today has definitely been worth its own stream. But I was working on some quilting earlier today, and now I am putting on some binding. So we're just kind of doing life laundry things and having a wonderful chat. So everybody here has been amazing. So if you are new, welcome. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. And for everyone else, thank you so much for sticking around and chatting today. We've been talking about life, the universe, and everything from buttons to dinosaurs. So in the chat, what is a thing you undervalue in yourself, but you really should value, I'm assuming, or really shouldn't undervalue? That's a tricky one. I think in a lot of ways, and maybe this is like old interview stuff talking, I think my first thought was to like pick my weakness, and then like when they interview you and they're like, oh well, what's something you want to improve at or whatever. I think that we're kind of taught to pick at our flaws first, and then but only in a way where we can like then bend them to be something that corporate can exploit. But more so, like, it's weird to think about strengths when you're not like it's easy to think of like your strongest strengths, like obviously like what's something I value about myself. Oh, I'm an artist. That one's easy, but to think of something that's kind of in that weird, well, not weird, but like in that middle ground where like I should give more value to it and I don't. That's a tricky one. That's exactly why I want you to think about it. Well, there you go, making me use my brain. Yeah, I'm gonna think about that one. Because yeah, that middle ground is hard because like it's definitely, we talked a lot today about just that we are trying to fight the compartmentalization of these things and be the hot mess that we deserve to be. And so yeah, there's definitely box labeled strength, box versus weakness, and then there's clutter everywhere in the middle, but I'll have to pick something. Also in the chat, I'm working on stating my disabilities without saying but afterwards. That's a good one. That's a really, really good one. Yeah, you deserve to be full statement. No excuses. That's a tricky one. Yeah, proud of you too. It is hard to not make excuses for anything, be it learning disability, be it chronic illness. That's a big one. I know, not to completely just piggyback off of you. I know that was something that was, so sorry, I gotta check this really, really quick. All right, I might have to cut the stream short. I do have a fantastic village that is willing to help, but I might need to pick up my daughter myself because that is her request. And, if she is speaking up for her wants and needs, who am I to deny that? Also, I'll just, I'll tell one more story and then I'll go grab her, just because Erin brought up a really good point. With that, like the disabilities and something being a statement full stop with no buts. And then I will definitely think about the middle, this is something I should value. One of the things that I struggled with is I have some reproductive issues. I have endometriosis, and it was very hard for me to carry a pregnancy to term. And so it's hard to kind of honor the struggle without people being like, yeah, but you have a kid. It's like, yes, I do, and she's my world, and I wouldn't change that for a thing, but that doesn't take away the struggle. It doesn't take away those other losses. It doesn't take away the weight of just my body not doing what I needed it to. And then you enter in there with gender dysmorphia and everything too. It's like it didn't do the one thing I wanted it to do. Yes, I have my daughter, but she's not a consolation prize. It's not a but. It's and, absolutely in the chat. And I have a kid, and so, yeah, definitely learning to own full sentences or full statements with no buts, no buts. It's huge. It's absolutely huge. Yeah, and that's, I think, to answer your question quickly, just in case I don't get back to it, I think that would be something I would undervalue and don't appreciate enough is the strength of my body physically. It has been through a lot. It hurts a whole lot. But it still carries me, and it can still do things, and I'm grateful. And, I've been poked and prodded medically and been denied opportunities because of it, but it still carries me every day. And, I'm strong. I can be strong. I am strong. Yeah, you guys are asking the good questions. Back in chat, and your kid isn't in service of you, but you have a kid is weirdly objectifying. Yeah, that's hard too, because my daughter is definitely not a possession. She is her own person, and she is not anything but, her own human. And yeah, she's my light in my life, but like, she, I wanted her, I made her, but yeah, it's kids are complicated in that because, yeah, I don't own her, but she is my proudest achievement, but she's also not her own thing, and I can't base my own life on, it is complicated, but, yeah, kind of rambling with that, where, like, yes, I can be proud without the ownership, I can hurt and be strong. I can mourn what wasn't while celebrating what is. If anything, humans are messy and complicated, and we shouldn't be sorting into these little boxes. In chat, you can be strong and hurting at the same time. Sometimes they happen best together. Absolutely. You guys are amazingly strong too. You guys really are strong. And you guys are so smart too. I love, just asking and talking and the good questions and sharing with people that get it from every corner of the world. And, it's not, just good, honest people talking about good, honest things. And, you guys are amazing. And I'm gonna cry. Yes, cool people. You are cool people. And I don't want to leave you cool people, but I've got a tiny cool people to go pick up. So I am going to leave it here. Yes, everyone come together. Thank you so much for you, words. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate that you guys dragged your friends over. You guys, obviously you guys have a Discord. I will find your Discord. I will find you guys. Thanks for coming to my little corner of the internet. I'm going to really quickly see if we can raid anybody, if anybody is online. Nobody is online, so I'll leave you guys, unless you guys want to shout anybody out really quickly. If not, you guys know what you're doing. I'll leave you to the internet. And I will pick up the tiny cool person. Thank you so... Okay, here, cool. We've got a, Oh, are you about to stream? Do you want to... I mean, either or. Because I'm very happy to take... Okay, I will do that. Let me copy paste real quick. Perfect. I will raid another cool person. Excellent. All right. Well, you guys are absolutely amazing. Thank you so very much. I will find you, or you can find me. I'll join your Discord. Thank you for the raid recommendation. And you guys have a lovely evening. I love you guys so much. And like I said, you guys are always welcome on board the bus. The bus's doors are always open. And thanks for being cool humans. Yes, you guys have fun. Have a wonderful evening. All right. Bye.